This is episode 89 of Warriors Den. Today's guest is UTKM Yellow Belt, Nathan. I'm not going to try to butcher his last name, we'll say it later. Nathan has been training with us for, let's say, minus COVID, around 2 years. Very eager to work towards his orange belt. Now, I very much enjoyed this podcast, even though we had to do it in my truck with my lapel mics due to some extenuating circumstances. But in the true Krav Maga way, you have to adapt. But it turned out to be quite a good conversation. Now that's the thing with these podcasts, at least my podcast. It's kind of like the Forrest Gump quote. My mom always said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, right? Because you never know how guests are going to be, and you never know how I'm going to be. Some people treat it like an interview. It's more of a conversation, and the ones where it's a conversation and you're really being open and honest are the best ones. One of the ideas behind this podcast is that I want people to see who does martial arts, come from all walks of life for all sorts of reasons, and really get to know the people doing it. And it's not just meatheads, it's people with deep views of the world, people who do it because of a specific experience. This podcast is all over the place. I'm going to be honest, I talked a little more than I would have liked to, but the dynamic of Nathan is still a student, so he asked some questions. We almost finished up around 2 hours, and he asked me a question that I probably went on for like half hour, 45 minutes. So there is that. But this podcast is just as much about Nathan opening up about his past, where he's at, why he does Krav Maga, as it is about me, because he asked me some questions about UTKM and what I want to do with it. A little bit long-winded on my part, but you can get a sense of where my head's at and what I would like. So I enjoyed this. It's a great listen about, we talk about mental health, about leadership, and I think the theme for a lot of the podcast is mentorship and what that means to us. Nathan is a baseball coach for kids and teens, as well as a graphics designer, visual effects graphic designer. He's worked on some big Marvel movies, and of course UTKM Yellow Belt, hopefully soon Orange Belt. If you didn't know, this podcast is brought to you by Urban Tactics Krav Maga, turning lambs into lions since 2013. If you want more of this, and you want me to put out more content, and you want me not to be stressed out and continue with this weekly doses, the best thing you can do is support UTKM. If you're in the Metro Vancouver and you want to learn how to defend yourself, you can come train with us. Our website is urbantacticskm.com. New students tab, and you can sign up for a class, or if there's a wait list, you can be added to our wait list. I am going to open up some new beginner classes as the demand is extremely high post-COVID. No shocker there. Everyone is a little concerned and pent-up anger and wants to come and learn how to defend themselves. So urbantacticskm.com, click on new students. We also offer the Canadian Firearm Safety course and Canadian Restricted Firearm Safety course. Currently, due to time constraints, every 2 months. Hopefully that'll open up soon. I am posting this, I believe, on the week of probably July 29th, which means the next course is September 25th and September 26th. It's a Saturday, Sunday, all-day courses to get your firearms license at a minimum, learn the safety around firearms, and if you want, then you can apply for your Canadian license. So for that, you go to urbantacticskm.com, click on the tab that says CFSC/CRFSC, and you can sign up for the next course. I'll be adding more courses. I'm just not sure what the schedule for September through December is going to be. I'll have definitely at least one more course. I'm just not sure when. So if you want your Canadian firearms license or just want to learn about firearms safety, an extremely important topic, you can take the course with us. You can, of course, go to our blog, utkmblog.com. And I was in the podcast encouraging Nathan, who wants to write more, to submit some blog posts for us. So hopefully he will do that. One way you can support us is simply by reading the blog and sharing our posts. if you like them, which I hope you do. Nobody ever gives me feedback, but it would be nice. You can also click on the Support Us tab, and you can donate money to whatever degree. We are not a not-for-profit, so I'm just letting you know. You can also go to UTKMU.com. It's where all our beginner and novice curriculum is up in video format. As things move forward, I'll be adding content to that. There's also a free-to-access area with firearm safety videos, for example, and some other content, though I'll be adding more and more as we develop through the years. UTKMU is a supplementary website. We do not offer ranking through that website. It's simply meant to give you perspective of how we teach, or for our students to clarify in between classes or during COVID, for example. On the blog, of course, I would very much like individuals with stories about self-defense, whether you're a law enforcement, military, or a civilian, to submit us some episodes, some blog posts. So if you'd like to submit a story about your experience in security, law enforcement, military, civilian, regarding to self-defense, violence, de-escalation, what you learned, what went well, how it went poorly, how you handled it, you can submit to info@urbantacticscanada.com, minimum 500 words. If we choose your post to be submitted and published, you will get 3 months free access to UTKMU. So then you can get access to that website. We will not publish all submissions. It just depends what's in there. And if you have a crazy story that you want to tell, but you want to remain anonymous, we will just publish it as under the Urban Tactics name and say anonymous. It's simple. So we just want to get it out just as much as this podcast is. I think one of the things me and Nathan talk about is that the internet has allowed people to know they're not alone. If you come from a small town, if you feel ostracized in your high school, if you don't like your work, there are people you can find your community. So when you're sharing your self-defense stories, it allows people to know that they are not alone in the world, and that maybe they handled it well, or maybe they handled it worse than they thought, or maybe they can get some perspective. So I would love you to share your stories. Again, 500 words or more. We do have an editor, but it does need to be somewhat coherent. And that's one of the reasons we won't publish all stuff, but you never know. Shoot us your messages. When we get 3 or more submissions, I can do a series on that. So hopefully send us your way. You can, of course, follow us on Urban Tactics Krav Maga on Instagram, Urban Tactics KM on Twitter, Urban Tactics Krav Maga on Facebook. And Nathan said, if you want to get to know him better, come and train in the class. I like that advice. So hear about Nathan's backstory, hear more about my backstory, hear about the fact we are real people struggling just to fit in this world. Enjoy the episode. Krav Maga is not just a self-defense system, it is a way of life. Warriors Den is a podcast for Kravists, fighters, martial artists, warriors, politicians, and general citizens. Consider this. The society that separates scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools. Lucidity. Your host, Jonathan Fader, talks to guests in an open and uncensored format about their fights, their philosophies, and their lives. No topic is taboo, and the conversation may start in one place and end in another. As the quote suggests, you cannot separate the warrior from the politics and the world around them, as a true warrior must be a student in all forms of art and science.
You're listening to The Warriors Day. Brought to you by Urban Tactics Krav Maga, turning lambs into lions.
Welcome back. I am here in my truck today, recording a podcast with one of my yellow belt students, Nathan. I already forgot how to say your last name.
Parade de la Farode.
Parade de la Farode. So let's start with the easy thing. Why did you come to Krav Maga? And do you have any other martial arts other than Krav Maga?
It came out completely out of left field. I was hanging out with some buddies, and a friend of mine joined up in the group, and he just started talking, and we're like, dude, you look messed up. Like, What did you just do? looked like he ran a marathon, and he was just sweating buckets. And he's like, I just got out of Krav Maga.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, first off, repeat what the hell that word means. And he starts telling us, he's like, yeah, we were getting attacked. There was like a knife defense and stuff like that. And I'm just like, dude, where did you learn this? It was in the middle of Chicago, and I had never heard of it. I was so interested immediately. And then from there, I guess, that was probably like 2012. I just never found a school that I liked or like an opportunity to train until it came back to Vancouver.
Yeah. So you're from here originally, Vancouver, or Surrey, right?
I'm from Surrey, baby.
Surrey.
I grew up in this neighborhood.
Yeah, which is a suburb of Vancouver. So we're in the car, so you'll hear cars go by periodically. And why were you in Chicago?
I was in Chicago because I got a scholarship as a Division I baseball player.
Okay, that makes sense. You're not going to make money or anything in Canada doing that.
No, I was very lucky to go to Chicago. It was a very cool opportunity. But, it brought me to Krav Maga, which is sweet. And to answer your other question, I've always been, like, super active. My parents have always put me in a lot of different things. I did wrestling in high school. I did a little gum-do, which is, like, some sword training. I thought it would help with my hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
But aside from those two, not much martial arts. I'm pretty green as they come.
So how long ago did you start? I can't even remember, like 2 years, something like that? A year and a half, 2 years?
I think it's over 2 years, but it's hard to tell with COVID.
Yeah, that screwed everything up. You disappeared for a while. That was a fun. So coming into Krav Maga, what have you learned, like from self-defense? Like, is it what you expected, or is it something completely different?
I came in with a completely open mind, which was helpful. But I think one of the biggest things that I've taken or learned was I had to differentiate between fighting and self-defense. Yeah. Because no one ever taught me those differences. And where I'm from, like, fighting is very common.
Surrey's not that bad.
It's not that bad, but fighting is very common. But really, when I was growing up, these were self-defense situations, but we treated them like fights, which is totally incorrect and dangerous, and just, horrible things came from that. But that is definitely the biggest thing that I've learned in Krav. Like, I'm trying to go home. I'm trying to get away from these situations when really, when I was growing up younger and stupid, I was trying to, like, humiliate an opponent. Yeah.
I'm winning, bitch.
Yeah, for real, that's what it was like, man. And it happened often out here, dude.
Now, how old are you? I totally forgot.
I'm going to be 29 in November.
29. Yeah, a few years younger than me. So when I was graduating high school, you were probably just getting into high school, I guess.
2005 is when I entered high school.
Yeah, so I was just leaving. I got it right. Did the math right for once. Yeah, no, I remember, so I grew up in Richmond. So if you don't know Metro Vancouver area, you have Vancouver, and then south of Vancouver is the island where the airport is, and then that's Richmond. East of Vancouver is Burnaby. South of Burnaby, across the river again, is kind of Surrey. There's some other cities here and there. Surrey is actually the biggest city. It's probably going to have more people than Vancouver soon. But like when I was growing up in Richmond, like when I was really there, when I was young, like grade 1, grade 2, it was still like farmland. And it was mostly like white people, some Asians, because there is one of the oldest Japanese communities outside of Japan in Richmond. But then, Hong Kong, 97, all the Hong Kong people started coming out before it switched over to China. It's even worse now, but back then, so just to give you context, if you know the city now, it's so much more developed. When I was in like late elementary school and high school, then I'm starting like Surrey, because my parents don't go to Surrey. And like the distance there, you'd always hear stories of Surrey like, oh no, you don't want to go to Surrey. Like Surrey's rough. It's not that bad anymore, I think, but it's much more developed. There are some questionable areas, but to give some context, but it's not anything like, say, Southside Chicago.
Very different. But I grew up like in the heart of it. I was in Wally for most of my life.
Up the road,
Up the road when it was, Skid Row, just before like the Bacon Brother issues, the killing over here in the buildings, the high rises. It had a famous name. It was followed by the news.
Surrey 6 murders.
Surrey 6 murders. Like I grew up in that. I was from a very early age, I was used to seeing like heroin, crack. Just the first time I ever saw like two people naked was at my baseball field. Like they were just having sex out in the field, and I'm just like, this is normal to me. Yeah. as an
rough life.
8-year-old.
Yeah. Nothing I was exposed to. I had a pretty sheltered upbringing. I think the first time I saw drugs openly was must have been like 16, and we were hanging out with these younger girls, and we dropped them off, and they're like, hey, you want to come in for a sec? I'm like, sure. And the roommate, who I had no idea who it was, and these are like 14, 15-year-old girls that are living by themselves.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the roommate was like, hey man, you want to do some meth? And I'm like, I didn't know what to do.
No.
So I panicked. I'm like, I gotta go. And just got in my friend's car and we left. But I can't imagine, I understand it, but I don't imagine growing up as a younger kid or experiencing that.
No, you'd go to parties and you're like, yo, what's on that plate?
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, that's K.
Yeah.
I haven't even watched any movies with what the hell is K?
I only know what K was later on in life. K is ketamine. It's actually being used for some psychotherapeutic drugs now. Mm-hmm. But back then, it's you took it to get messed up. Yep. And so how do you go from that to where you are now? Visual designer, not having trouble. We'll come back to all that, but let's find out who Nate is first.
So I went to school to play baseball, which is very different from most people's routes. But I went there because it was going to give me the opportunity to continue playing what I loved. And while I was there, I was introduced to script writing, film production, radio communications, stuff like that. So even though I went there to really focus on baseball, I ended up really enjoying my major. I loved my peers. I thought the teachers and the professors were amazing. And I was lucky enough to actually want to stick with my major after I graduated. Yeah. So I came back home and I did some crazy odd jobs. I was an ex-athlete. Yeah. 200 pounds. I came back home and I was just digging holes for irrigation. Exactly, just straight.
The worst job you can do, dig trenches.
I would go to my job in the morning. My boss would meet me at a site and he'd just stand there with a spade shovel and just point down. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I doing today? He's like, I just need a hole 6 feet. Yeah. And then he'd leave for 8 hours. I'm like, oh my God, this job sucks.
Yeah, I had to do that once. I did, out of high school, plumbing assistant. But he didn't teach me anything. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I need a hole like that. So I'm digging for 2 hours. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you told me to dig a hole. He wanted a trench 8 feet long. And he said, just
you went 8 feet deep?
Yeah, I was just digging. And I'm really not athletic. I'm not 200 pounds. So for me to do that by myself is hard. So I know.
Brutal jobs. But I got lucky. My friend was at the time straight out of high school, got a job at a visual effects house, which Vancouver is actually a really big hub, maybe second to California. Yeah. And we work on tons of projects out here from Marvel, Disney, you name it. And one day I was just kind of telling him, hey, I'm really sick of where I'm at. I just want something better, something more fun. And I did this in school. And he's like, well, we got a job here where you can start making coffees. Yeah. And I'm just like, ooh, coffees. And I really had to just suck it up, get rid of the ego. I'm like, man, this could be the start of something. I went and did that for 5-6 months. Yeah. A producer took a good shine to me and gave me my first opportunity. And I think in 2016 I worked on Ant-Man and the Wasp 2.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was my first movie.
Yeah.
And then from there I was able to work on Aquaman, Ford versus Ferrari.
I've not seen that one, actually.
That one's fantastic, man. James Mangold is the man. Yeah. WandaVision, Free Guy, that's coming out with Ryan Reynolds is starring. It's coming out in August, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, a myriad of other projects, but it's a really fun gig.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've done extra work, but I've never got into the other side of it. Actually, that's not kind of true. I used to do first aid at the mocap studio at EA, so it's kind of... But it was they're so security. They're you can only go in this building. You can't go anywhere.
Oh, okay.
But that whole industry is an interesting one.
Everyone ends up in the mocap suit at one point or another.
Yeah, right. We need someone this size. Go.
Exactly. I was there with my 12-inch Timberland boots, trying to do a dance or something. I look ridiculous.
Yeah. How tall are you?
I'm 6 feet.
Yeah, so 6 feet, 200-something pounds. So he's a big guy.
Yeah, a little above average.
Yeah. Versus my short 6... Oh no, my 5'6" shortness.
Yeah, but you kick my ass in BJJ.
In BJJ, well, that's the whole thing about BJJ. So if you ask the Gracies and they get really into it, they're going to the ground is to take away the advantage of the big guy who's explosive. The saying that size doesn't matter is bullshit, but back then, like 100 years ago, it was less bullshit because no one knew anything.
Yep.
Like it was just a big guy windmilling, and if you're a small guy and get hit, you're screwed.
Oh.
So if you took someone to the ground back then, no one knew what to do. But now everyone kind of knows. So it's a skill size thing. Like by the time you figure out what to do, it's going to be a nightmare for me.
I can't wait, man. I absolutely love takedowns, but once I'm on the ground, I'm just looking around for help. Like, what am I grabbing?
Fish out of water.
Exactly.
So that actually brings up an interesting point, because if you grow up in a rough neighborhood, being a big guy, a lot of the times you end up in more situations than you want, because everyone's like, I'm going to go for the big guy, or your friends want the big guy there. Do you have any situations like that?
I'm very lucky. I think from an early age, I showed really good promise in baseball.
Yeah.
And even though my friends, they did certain things that, looking back, were just terrible decisions, they kind of kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
I was always the youngest in the friend group.
Yeah.
So if I was acting tough, it was to like impress them, and they just pull me out and be like, "Dude, what are you doing?
Stop screwing around.
Stop screwing around." And these are the same guys who are like selling drugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're just like, "You can't be doing this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "But I want to do it." It's crazy being young, man. Just terrible decisions. I look back, I'm just like, "Oh, that ain't me."
Yeah. No, I could see that. Like I had a good upbringing, but also not. I was like, parents were there, but kind of not. So, but I always had a safe home to go to. Mm-hmm. So I was around questionable people, and it's like I can see how it's easy to make that decision, because I can imagine if I didn't have a safe home to go to, I would have gone with those guys.
Absolutely.
But then I'm like, I don't know about that. So I had a safe home to go to, versus say those two girls I met, they did not have a safe home to go to, so that's why they're living by themselves.
I was amazed that they were even able to make a home at all.
I don't know the backstory.
Yeah,
looking back, I'm like, I probably should have followed up with them and figured out what's going on with them. But I'm a pretty naive kid, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's like I feel uncomfortable, and then they tried to get a hold of me later on, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. I don't want to talk to you. But I don't know I always wonder what happened to those girls. Who knows? Because I was hanging out with them for a couple weeks, like at my friend's place, and then they just kind of, after that incident, we stopped hanging out with them. And it's, who knows? You look back and you think about your childhood, and you're like, oh, I wonder what happened to that person. I don't even remember their names, so I don't even know.
It's just such a very common story out here.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, you hear about this person? Yeah, dead.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
That was a good person. Like, yeah, just bad life decisions, man. It happens quick.
It's funny, like, it depends who you grow up with, because I don't know that many people who, like, die, but then you talk to other people, and it's like, yeah, he died this week, that person died, like, this week. If you listen to it, I was doing a podcast with Mike, the one before this, and he just said he knew, like, 5 or 6 guys during COVID that killed themselves.
Oh,
right?
My God.
And I don't know anyone who did that. So it's very much like what circles you're in. If you're in the rough or without the support, that's what's going to happen. And then if you grow up around the support, right? I think that's a lot of the reason why, like, people who grow up in rough neighborhoods resent wealthier people, because it is easier,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I never went to Vancouver as a kid.
Really?
I thought they were just like from a different planet.
Right? It's a very common thing here.
I thought they were so bougie. Like, I didn't like going down there. Nothing in common. I didn't like the air of all those people. I thought they were uppity. The kids from Vancouver, I thought they were just the weirdest people.
Yeah, right.
And it was just me making my world very small. It was just me. As a kid, it was just always about seeing differences first.
Yeah.
And, like, I never really worked hard to, like, get to know people.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is just how we are. This is how you are. Yeah. End of story. I'm going to stay on this side of the tracks.
But, it's actually a phenomenon here. It's still the case. Like, I didn't start, once I got my license, you start going around age 16. So you start going in Vancouver. We'd go crash parties in Vancouver. Not like I wasn't a huge partier, but we'd go out there sometimes. And then you throw a party in, like, Richmond or Surrey, and you tell the Vancouver kids, like, hey, I was at your party coming up. Kids are like, no. Yeah. Like they do not leave Vancouver, but other people have to go to them if you want to do anything with them. Mm-hmm. So it's very cliquey like that. But when you're a kid, but like we didn't have good transportation, no SkyTrains back then. Actually, no, you would have had the one SkyTrain, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, back then. But yeah, it's like you stay in your little neighborhood, your block, and then you don't explore unless your parents take you, right?
Parents drop me off at my parties in White Rock and stuff at a mansion. I'm like, where am I, man? I just got the address from a friend.
Yeah, but it sounds like that. I've been having this sort of theme a lot lately. It's like mentorship is so important, and like it's not just me. The school system is not doing a good job at that anymore. The teachers are just there to be there, and there's no one for a lot of kids to mentor them. And then we don't even have good sports programs anymore here.
Terrible.
They're taking them away because all the academics didn't want to do them, but now it's all falling apart, and you're seeing these, you're seeing a lot more kids now. There was a lull where it was going away, and I find it's coming back now. So, are you teaching Little League right now or anything?
I do coach ages 8 to 14 right now.
Yeah.
Before that, the last couple years, I've kind of focused on that age group. But before that, I was coaching in the PBL just down here in the...
What's the PBL?
Premier Baseball League. So these are the kids who play baseball with the intention of playing at the highest level or going to college.
Yeah.
And I really found a home there. I really like taking care of these kids and preparing them for the next level because myself, not a damn thing was ever taught to me.
Yeah.
I went through this system alone.
Yeah.
I was getting recruited by schools and I'm asking friends, I'm like, is this a good school?
Yeah.
It says New York.
Must be good.
Should I go there? What do these divisions mean? What is the SAT? It was very hard to find meaningful mentorship. And I think once I went through this process alone, and I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Mistakes that I'm still financially recovering from now.
Aren't we all?
Exactly. Picking a school is a crazy decision especially for a 19-year-old who just wants to play baseball. I said yes to a lot of things that, looking back, I wish I negotiated harder. And that's just the stuff that I try to get back to my community.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Often people are you need to figure it out yourself, or you need to look it up. You need to be personally responsible for yourself, which is true, but it's man, do you know how much, systems are complicated? Knowledge, there's a lot of knowledge. If someone doesn't actually care enough to tell you and explain to you how to do things, you're just guessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's I was just laughing at with COVID, how the government here in this province was upset. They do these daily stupid briefings I thought were ridiculous, and they're upset. Why is nobody listening to us? And it's you do realize most people aren't watching this, right?
That's a fact.
And I was these people are so detached. These are the leaders, and everyone is praising them for doing a good job, and I'm just sitting there you don't even put in Mandarin or in Punjabi these notices publicly.
Ooh.
So what are you talking about? I'm all for learning the country's language, but objectively, if it's a safety thing, it's are you putting these out? Are you engaging the community? Are you doing anything? Nobody watches the news like they used to, guys. You guys are failing to engage. And they're well, the young people aren't listening to us. I'm are you on social media?
Yeah, what the hell is cable?
What are you doing? And they were blaming the public for not understanding. And that sort of goes to my point, is that everyone in leadership roles doesn't want to actually lead anymore, which is I need to make sure everyone is actually getting the message. Mm-hmm. So my teaching style, it's very different.
Very different.
Even for Krav, is I like to talk because I'm just finding people are lost, even adults. And half the shit I say, to me, it's I hear this all the day because it's what I'm looking into. But to them, I have people never heard that before. The other day I was talking about Cuba. All right, it's did everyone know it? Were you there?
I was not, but I know what's going on.
Yeah, Cuba. And I said, who knows, because I was talking about the podcast I put out, I was talking about communism and fascism. And I was who knows about what's going on in Cuba? And they're half the class had no idea. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a big deal because I was talking about why I'm talking about communism and fascism and why it's important. I consider it self-defense to know the difference because, last year everyone is arguing about fascism. You're a fascist, you're a communist, or last few years. And I'm most of them don't even know the definitions. Mm-hmm. People can't even tell it. So for me, teaching Krav is not just about learn to kick someone in the nuts. It's can you interpret the information in the world around you? How have you found that? Because it's not for everyone.
I mean, once I got out of university and started taking your classes, I realized I was in just kind of this accept everything as it comes mindset. Like, honestly, I'm getting used to the rat race. I've got my first job. I'm worried about money. I have all my focus is on me, and then you're just asking me to critically think and
I don't want to do that.
Question my leaders, and I'm like, yo, that's who I am. That's who I should be.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't be accepting everything that's coming my way. I should think critically. I should be able to make the best decisions for myself and the people I take care of. But I mean, sometimes you just have to redirect focus back to what the problem is.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, like I said, open mind. I'm like, I'm not doing the best job to prepare myself for like all the information that's coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's hard to say, just the ego and the pride when you ask something in class and we don't know, and we know it sounds important to say like, oh, John, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't paying attention.
Say something.
Yeah. But you're a good teacher. You're like, oh, that's something you should focus on. And I'm like, yeah, I can do better at that.
Yeah. It's a common, like, any questions, blank stare from like 12 people.
Yeah.
And it's normal psychology. It's no one wants to be the first, or no one wants to feel stupid, and it's like,
I shout out answers all the time. You're like, no, dog.
That's fine. What I do emphasize, the one thing that bothers me is if I've said it like 5 times and you clearly were not listening an hour later. That bothers me, because it's like, why are you even here? But other than that, it's like, I understand people don't know most of the things I'm saying, and it's fine. Or I ask it in the wrong way, and that's sometimes you always, like, if you're teaching, you have to. Do they not understand because I wasn't clear? And you have to clarify that and think about, did I say it right? Did I clarify it? Because I say stupid shit sometimes. Wait, no. Or do they not have the base knowledge? Because sometimes people don't even have the base of the pyramid of what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So to explain a simple thing, you actually need to explain a bunch, which we don't have time for in class a lot of the time. But like teaching people stuff like that, it's difficult when you're all coming from different bases, different knowledge sources. Right. I mean, when you're teaching baseball, are you just focusing on the game, or do you focus on like other stuff?
So Krav has principles.
Yeah.
I like to teach in the same way. We start at the ground floor, the simplest movements possible, and we build from the ground up. So if there's an error, we can start to work backwards to see where you're failing.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the young kids, they don't know how their body works.
Yeah.
Krav Maga, you have people coming off the street, they don't know how their body works.
It's real fun teaching that.
Exactly. But, those are the kids who need it the most. They need your assistance, and you have to slow things down, break it down, use examples, show yourself, whatever works. Everyone has a different learning style, and you have to work differently with different kids.
Yeah.
So it's something you can't just, like, hope to brush over quickly.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll get an hour or 2 a week, so we have to focus on, weaknesses.
Yeah.
Kids don't want to work on their weaknesses. They want to do what they're very good at and do it all practice.
I must be perfect at everything.
Exactly. Like, your favorite thing is hitting. Coach, I just want to hit today.
Yeah.
You're like, man, you can't field a ground ball. You can't throw. You don't know how to run the bases, and you don't communicate with your teammates. These are things that if you get better at, you will enjoy the game as a whole.
Yeah.
And as the person you're paying to teach you, I'm going to focus on that, because I know you can hit, man, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah. That's that's an interesting perspective. Like the failure part and fixing your weaknesses. Like I don't know the numbers for baseball. Like, I'm Canadian. I don't do baseball, man. You're like,
I'm amazed I got into baseball, dude.
Because I know hockey, it's hard. But how many people who start in the minor league actually end up in the major league?
In the minor league, probably like 15%.
15%. So that's actually pretty good.
If you're in the minors, the minors, you're paying to play.
Yeah.
Like, you have been drafted and chosen, and like your shot is right there. You're just riding the bus and staying at the worst hotels and eating the crappy food until you get called up. So
let's say the minors is one below the majors, 15% of that. So what's the league below that? I don't know.
It'd be your collegiate league.
Collegiate league. So of how many collegiate leagues, how many percentage of them get into the minor leagues?
They say like 5%.
5%. So 5% of the collegiate leagues get into the minors, and 15% of minors get into the majors. So this is where it's a hard topic to talk about, because it goes against like the positivity narrative. And I'm like, if we don't develop you well-rounded, what are the chances you're actually going to get in the major league? Because I'm sure you've met kids like this, like, I'm going to get in the major league. It's like, dude, you suck. Like, you're not getting in the major league. No, I'm going to get in the major league. Okay, well, if you want to get in the major league, you need to work on all of this. Otherwise, you're not getting in the major league. And then also, you get kids who are like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be in the major league, but I love it, right? So mentoring people in a way that is objectively realistic, we can develop your skill and talent, but there's a large, high probability you're not going to do this professionally. So how do you, like, approach that sort of reality?
I think it just like the way you teach Krav it's bigger than the sport.
Yeah.
It's about your life. It's about what do you do day to day that will make you successful.
Yeah.
Like, baseball is just a vessel for improving who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Like, if you have like the intention and the focus, like, time is whatever. Everyone worries about time. I worry about focus.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about time, you think about, oh, when do I start? When is this going to end? How much time do I have to, like, do this? All I care is if you show up thinking, I'm going to get better today, is so much better than worrying about the time you're putting in.
Yeah.
So, come in, work hard, weaknesses. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Well, just like sort of the realization, because the way I frame it is not always how other people frame it, is like, everyone, we're taught, if you believe, you can do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of bullshit. Like, you need to believe in yourself, otherwise life is going to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're being sold is, if you believe it and you do the work, you can get there. So, like, you kind of answered is, like, I'm teaching more than just a sport. Like, I want you to develop the skill sets that are universal, like focusing and learn to use your body for health, right? Stuff like that. Like, my way of approaching it is very brutal. A lot of people don't even want to engage with me because they're like, you're just negative. I'm like, I'm objective. Is most people aren't going to do what they want because they put in the work, but they can enjoy it.
I don't see anything negative
Well,
about
people do.
Yeah, but I wouldn't show up if I thought you were negative.
Yeah.
Like, I
Well,
hate
that's
that
good.
shit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't just come to be berated at class.
Yeah. To be fair, I kind of used to be like that because I didn't have my shit sorted out. I've worked on it a lot.
The best teachers are the ones who improve themselves.
Yeah.
Right? If you were stagnant, if you thought you were doing everything correctly all day, despite things clearly not working, I would not come back to Urban Tactics.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm a teacher and a coach myself. I can smell that bullshit.
That's good.
Exactly. That's why I keep coming back. Because I see you working on your program. You critique yourself. You try to improve. You try to expand.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about teachers. Like, I'm sure we've all had them. They're just garbage teachers who just, I'm here to do a job. And it's like, you motherfuckers don't understand. I'm not making much money off of this. Like, and I'm putting everything into it with the hope that one day, like, actually, that's the interesting thing, is because it's a bit of a false reality. Is you get the guy who's been slaving away for martial arts for 20 years, but he's doing it for 20 years and now he has money, but he was broke for 20 years. He'd be like, I stuck with it, I made it. And it gives this false perception that that'll work even though 9 of the other guys failed, right?
Yep.
You know, like, I just love it. I don't know what else to do because I can't deal with people outside of my world. So it's like...
That's a very different world. From going from baseball to, like, the regular world, or, like, the military and Krav Maga. No, it's very different.
That's actually, like, you know many military guys?
No, man, that's not common out
Canada,
here.
yeah.
But my mom wanted to be in the military, and she's from South America.
Oh, yeah.
She liked routine and discipline and the marching and, like, all that stuff. And my dad was a hippie.
Yeah, that's, you know, I've heard that a bunch, like hippies, and then some right-wing and left-wing people then have a kid, and then somehow it works.
Yeah, but, like, growing up, none of my friends wanted to be in the military.
Yeah. Well, I just have to bring it up because I have this theory. I think a lot of PTSD from military guys is not a traumatic event that they had. Because most combat soldiers love it. Mm-hmm. And they're happy in their brotherhood and all that. It's when they come back. The thing that's causing them the most harm is when they come back and are just dumped into the real world. And then they have to deal with everybody else. And, like, you hear, like, I never deployed anywhere crazy. I was just in Israel, which is not that bad, despite what people think. And you hear stories of, like, Afghan vets or Iraq vets where they come back and they're like, man, like, even the homeless people here have it good. You don't know what it's like. And then it's like that, like, the difference of seeing that and growing up with that and apart losing the brotherhood because now you're around people you don't trust with your life. And I think that is what causes a lot of military guys the problem, is that just they can't transition like that.
Did you ever watch Restrepo?
No.
Restrepo is one of the gut-wrenching military documentaries I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
Same thing. One base in one of the worst valleys in Iraq.
Yeah.
And they had one spot that they held on to for years, and it was called Restrepo, and they named it after one of the soldiers over there who died.
Yeah.
And like this whole community like bonded together over this dead veteran, and like they came back home and they're like, I have to go back.
Yeah.
I have to go back for my
Yeah.
brothers and watch it. It was amazing.
Yeah. I'll do that. You know what's good? It's an Israeli one. It's called Fauda. Have you ever watched it?
No.
I think it's on. I had to stop because it was giving me anxiety. Because the thing about Israeli war stuff is it's real. The way they portray it. So like a lot of North Americans can't handle Israeli war movies because they find them boring. Because Israeli war movies, it'll be like a bunch of guys and their drama, and then like a small war scene. While as American movies, it's all building up to the big battle and the drama, but that's not real life. Most wars are a bunch of nothing, paranoia, dicking around, and then a battle for maybe 2 days, and then dicking around, and then a battle. It's not like World War I. They in the trenches they'd shoot at each other, stop, shoot at each other, stop. So the perception a lot of people have of how combat actually is, like if you're in a situation where you're fighting every single day for months on end, that's crazy. Like that doesn't happen that often in a big scale war. I mean, in World War II there were certainly periods like that, and some of the Israeli wars were like that. But outside of that, most of the time it's a lot of downtime, and it's like one of the groups that gets high PTSD is actually the drivers in Iraq and Afghanistan, because they're like, is today the day I drive over an IED? So they're like freaking out.
Just so tense. That's a horrible situation.
Anyway, so Fauda is just like, it's about these undercover special force guys. All the amount of cheating and the divorce, and they're covering all that stuff, and they hate each other, and they have to work with each other, and just kids getting blown up, and it's like, it's just such a real portrayal of like just the nonstop tension, like no downtime. Like I had to stop, I think, after the second season. It's like a world-renowned show, but it's Israeli, so a lot of people shun it. But it really, I think it does an insanely amazing job of portraying what it's like to be an undercover special force in Israel, and it's just like, I can't deal with it. Like I had to stop for me, because it's just like too, like I understand from the Israeli perspective. So you said your mom's from South America. So which country?
She's from Chile.
Chile, okay.
So she grew up under the Pinochet regime.
Pinochet. What, any stories she tell you about that, or no?
Nothing very specific. I had to go do my own research,
Yeah.
just like hearing about the death caravans and stuff like that. And from what it sounds like, was that my grandparents were in favor of Pinochet.
Yeah?
Yeah, because they were like small business owners, and I don't know, it's just a crazy country. And like, it's not terrible down there, but my grandparents had to move because they live in Santiago, which is the capital.
Yeah, Santiago.
Yeah, and twice, someone dressed up as a police officer robbed them at gunpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And this, like, we got the money together. We moved our grandparents over to like a little farming town.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just South America is very different. I have a cousin, and he beat up his brother.
Yeah.
And as punishment, my cousin got sent to Peru. And I'm like, what? How is that a
He
punishment?
got beat up, or no, the guy who beat him up.
My cousin who beat up his brother got sent to Peru as a punishment.
Yeah.
And then he got robbed at a bus stop like the first week.
Yeah.
And was like, oh, that's why you got sent to Peru.
Well, because, Chile and Argentina are like the nicer, the quote unquote.
Yeah.
Right.
Once you get more central, it's just crazy.
Yeah. But you know the history, like a lot of Nazis ended up in Chile and Argentina. And if you go up in the mountains, you'll still find like really creepy German villages that they basically are Nazis.
Yeah, the Germans helped like cultivate a lot of the land.
Yeah.
They came over and did a lot of the farming. But I didn't know about the Nazis. But I mean, they'd come and with them, I guess.
I forgot the name of the book. Like, or this woman was Chile or Argentina, I can't remember. But wrote a book about like growing up with her grandparents, and it wasn't until she was a teenager she realized they're fucking Nazis. Like, straight up
God!
Nazis.
Did you find like a jacket?
No, like she just as a little kid, like, what do you know? Like, I'm gonna go. They live somewhere else, and they'd go fly into in these mountain villages and go hang out with the grandparents. And then as she's older and she's writing this book about talking about it, she's like, they're like a time capsule. Because then a lot of the officers of the Nazis got to South America and went to Chile and Argentina. And I wish I knew the name of the book. And she was telling this story, like, as an adult, having the realization, like, oh, fuck, like, how do I feel about my grandparents now? Because they were actual Nazis.
It's gut-wrenching.
Yeah, and there's these villages still exist up there apparently, and like if I went there, they would probably not be very happy with my huge Star of David on my chest, right? And people don't know about it. Like, you know, the Israelis hunted down all the high-level guys that ran down there, but they left the rest of them. So it's like it's crazy. Like when you start learning about the world, like you didn't even know that, right?
No.
That's one of the reasons I talk about all sorts of things because, well, one, I like it. I'm not gonna lie, I like talking about it.
Bro, you got me watching World War II docs in my spare time.
Yeah, those ones are good though.
Yeah, I like them, but like, there's just history repeats itself.
Yeah,
and like I need to be able to. The podcast you did with Petra was fantastic.
Yeah.
The blog post series.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Like the stuff they're the things where I'm like, I should know that.
Yeah.
I will do a better job to educate myself moving forward.
Yeah. It's all you can do, though. And that's what I've been talking to people about. They're like, John, there's too much information. How do I deal with it?
Bro, like, try hard. Like, come on.
Well, even that, you have to know how to read between the lines. And that's a really hard skill to teach. And then you have to know what's useful information and what's not. And then you have to, I like this information. I know it's not useful, but I like it. People they're not being taught that. Like, it comes back to the mentorship thing. Like, there was a good quote, I forgot who said it was. You take everything you read, take everything you listen to on the radio. It's an old quote. And then the truth is probably somewhere in between.
Yep.
You know, and that's the part that people, like, you saw me during COVID. I'm like flipping out. Like, just like, I cannot believe how stupid smart people are and how stupid people are about this thing because nobody can see, like, the middle.
Yep.
And people refuse. They take their stands, and I'm just like, I'm like pissed off.
Well, just a blatant disregard for, like, other people's safety at first, and then just the refusal to accept facts, and then the denial of everything. It was just a horrible situation to see how people reacted to things.
Well, I saw the governments underreact initially and then overreact after.
Yeah, the correction.
Fact, and then it's like, you idiots.
Yeah.
And then they just don't want to be wrong, and then, you know, all the quotes. This is actually a perfect, COVID should wake people up. I don't know if it's gonna. Is that you basically saw in real time conspiracies, one way or another.
Yep.
And then being proven right or wrong in real time. We didn't have to wait 30 years. But then people already have their idea from their first thought. Oh, it's not a lab leak. It's not a lab leak. It came from the fucking lab. Okay, Stop. There's a lot of evidence. And then there's some clear cover-ups of a bunch of stuff. No, conspiracy. It's like, read the emails. Listen to that interview. Listen to these people. Follow the money. Like, it's provable. No, it's not. What are you listening to?
No, people had an identity wrapped up with which stance they had.
And then just the lying. Like, if they hadn't lied about it and be like, yep, we fucked up. Here's what we got to do. And, like, to me, like, I did occupational health and safety when I was younger for whatever reason. It's more like someone's like, I know what happened. Someone promised me they were going to mentor me, fell apart. I got into it, hated it, bailed like I did because I'm like, I'm not getting what I wanted. Anyways, and it taught me about that. And I'm like, okay, like, masks work. But I was like, if it works as well as you say, if this thing is as deadly as it should, we need respirators.
Yep.
Like, you remember me saying that? I'm like,
yes.
If it's that bad, like, we need respirators. And then you see the politicians at the start not doing shit. And I'm like, you don't need to do anything. Like,
no.
Like, watch what the leaders are doing, not what they're saying. And people, like, that's how you pick up on it. Like, are they hiding in bunkers? I mean, some of them were faking it, but then you catch them walking around. It's like, why are you panicking about this? Yeah, a lot of people did die. But then you start seeing the research about be healthy.
Yeah.
Take vitamin D.
Yeah, your zinc or...
You know, zinc, it helps. Then you get other people saying, no, that's all debunked. No, it's not. Look at this actual research. But people don't want to look into it, right?
No, they want it in like a sound bite or like a meme.
Yeah. I'll actually be happy the day that I'm famous enough that people are actually sound biting the stupid shit I say.
Oh, man.
Because then you know you've hit it.
You regret that. You regret saying that, man.
Come on, soundbite. Yeah, I'm putting it out here because I'll enjoy it, and I want. Well, it's mainly it started with the students. I want the students. I thought I'd be like Joe Rogan. It's like not gonna happen.
Don't say that, man. Keep going.
Well, I know that's why I do it but then you realize you have to. I stopped for like 2 years. It was too stressful, and then like here doing it in the car. Back then, I'd be like, no, I need a space. Like I used to have an office in Richmond, and I used to invite people there. And then it's like the ego thing. Like I don't want to invite that fighter or that person to come talk to me in a car. Like it's unprofessional. And then I stopped for a long time, and then during COVID I'm like, fuck it, like one, I have nothing better to do. Like everything was shut down, and then I'm just like, you know what, like I think people need this. If not just for my students, I need it.
Yeah.
Because I like having the conversations. Like I was talking did you listen to the Ron Engelman one I did?
Yes,
yeah,
I did.
He was like, oh, I do this for selfish. He started his, I just want to talk to, like, such a Jewish thing.
He had a crazy story, man. It's like Australia to...
Yeah, it was interesting. But, you know, it's like the Krav Maga world. I still don't know who everyone is in the Krav Maga world. The Israelis have done a really shitty job at, like, unifying the world. And, like, if you learn here, if you didn't have me as an instructor, you're not going to know about any of that shit.
No, it's kind of like secret society still, man.
We're in this organization. Forget those other people. It's like, no, man, there's a lot of good people out there who know what they're doing with slightly different conclusions. Then the people off in left field, you know, they're garbage. But, like, most of them kind of are doing, and they all lie about who came up with the move first. No,
Yeah.
I came up with it first. And then what you'll see is one person starts changing a technique, and then within the next 5 years, they're all doing it because it works better. So it's for me, like, to explore, educate the students, and for my own mental health. Yeah, like, I like to bring that up. Mental health, martial arts, growing up from the rough streets of the hood, sorry, as you put it. Has that factored into your life at all?
Absolutely. This school is very important to me because it's improving not just my physical attributes, but my mental ones.
Yeah.
When you go over the nervous system and talk, we have the color code, super easy to digest. You explain it very well. And then, like, just sometimes at home, I'm, like, washing dishes, and I'm in full fight mode.
Yeah.
And I've been like that for years.
Yeah.
And I'm stoic.
You're a man, no shocker.
Yeah, man. So I never really went to anyone professionally for what I go through. And also, I think it's normal, which is wrong. Like, I shouldn't be constantly fighting people in my head.
Yeah.
But, like, being able to go, whoa, man, chill out. Like, I'm okay. I'm at my house. I have to calm down.
Yeah.
Like, just simple things like that are improving my life.
Yeah.
And I learned that here.
Just being self-aware, yeah.
Being self-aware, telling us, like, hey, these are the signs. Like, this is what's happening in your brain. It's not really happening, man. You got to be able to control these things and, like, assess what's happening inside your body.
Yeah. If no one teaches you, that's a thing you don't know.
No, man, I just thought I was wound up tight for 28 years.
Yeah. I mean, you were, but, like, so that's the thing. Like, I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, normal. I'm so angry at the field of psychology. There's such hacks, so many of them. They're so full of shit. The mental health community is like, there's no such thing as normal. I'm like, okay, that's not true. Mm-hmm. So, like, someone in my life posted on Facebook about, you know, it's normal to be mentally unstable, and I'm like, I don't like that approach. They're trying to normalize unstable.
Yep.
So when you say I thought that was normal, it's like, it's probably more normal for people to be unstable than we thought, because everyone was. But the question is, that's not good. We want to be optimal. And so optimal means a couple things. Optimal is, what mental state do you as an individual need to be in to be happy? But then there's the other thing, is there is normal. What is normal is relative to what society you live in. Mm-hmm. Is what behavior is going to be most accepted in the society that you live on. Because a lot of mental health stuff is actually related to social stuff.
Yep.
So I think a lot of my problems was I'm an outsider in, like, so many ways. So I really don't fit in with groups of people very well. So it's like that, you need that social acceptance. You want to try to be normal, but trying to be their normal causes you internal problems. And this is where we're getting this whole battle. I hate this, it's my truth. No, okay? If you have to understand, like, if you behave abnormally to your society, you're going to have problems.
Yep.
You have two choices. You can choose to be more like everybody else, which for a lot of people is the solution. Or you can say, fuck it, I don't care. And then I'm going to find people who accept me. Both are correct, because if it's about what you need to be mentally happy, the problem is that people want their correct to be what everyone else is correct is. But there's still an average. What's the average in your society? So you just have to be self-aware that, listen, I'm a crazy freak, whatever, and be okay with that, or not. But you do have to be aware people are looking at you weird for a reason, and just be like, I'm cool with that, like whatever. And that's the hard part for us humans, I think. Right? I don't know. Thoughts on that?
Being 20, like late teens, early 20s, and then just realizing you don't fit in was very, very hard.
Yeah.
Always been kind of, I don't know if it's everyone feels like they don't fit in, but like it crushed me.
Yeah.
It crushed me. Like all I really did was play baseball, have these 9, 10 buddies, and then go home and be alone.
Yeah.
Like that was my life. I wake up early, work out, go home, be alone. Like that was my routine.
Yeah.
When you said trying to fit in, the way I fit in for a long time was just to drink heavily, and then
I do that still sometimes.
Man, it took me to terrible places.
Yeah.
I've been sober for 7 years now.
Yeah. That's why I asked, because I wasn't like, I had a feeling. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, man. But like my life previous to that was just drink all the time.
Yeah.
That was my solution to my earthly problems.
Yeah.
People, places, things, everything drove me nuts. I needed to control everything. No spiritual principles at all.
Yeah.
I just really sunk into like the 1-2 things that I really loved, which was baseball and like movies. And that was it. That like my world became very, very small, man.
Yeah.
I said no to, I ruined a lot of opportunities, but like I needed help, didn't know how to ask.
Yeah.
And that's like growing up, man. I came from a wonderful family too.
Yeah.
My parents are great. They're still together. They still live in Surrey.
Yeah.
They gave me everything, and I just, on everything that was working well in my life, I just felt like I was disappointing. So it was hard to go to them for help.
Yeah. I wonder, is that like is your dad Latino too? Or?
No, my dad's white.
White, okay.
He's got a mullet. He wears denim on denim.
Hence the hair, right?
He's straight Canadian, man.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting, different cultures. Like my parents are Jewish, but they're not that Jewish, because my mom's mom converted, so really she had like prairie girl upbringing with a Jewish upbringing, so it's like a mix. And then not even old school, just like it's fine, like very like hands off. But like that's why I'm drawn to the mentorship thing now. I'm not in a place in my life where I can really mentor people beyond what I'm doing in class. But
is that a time thing or a choice?
It's my mental health.
Yeah.
Like if I'm constantly doing, I'm very self-aware. Unfortunately, I haven't isolated a reason I don't have a lot of energy, right? So I have maybe 4 hours. I've been trying all sorts of diet, exercise, it doesn't really matter. Like 4 to 5 hours a day of functional work time. And, if I'm writing blogs, and I'm doing it. Like if I have to work a full-time job, I really can't do anything else, like physically, mentally. And so, if I get to the point where I have helpers who can do admin work for me, who can put my ideas on paper, then it's a lot easier for me to focus on other stuff. It's just me as a person. So, in order for, like, I would want a structured program, and I would have to, market. You have to do it's a lot of work to build up any kind of program in a meaningful way. And then there's the thing is, all these structured programs, I don't get along with.
Structured programs?
Like, let's say government. I'm not working with the government. Or I'm a school, I'm not working with them.
Because their hands are all over what you want to do.
Yeah, they want to control everything you're doing. It's like, I know how to do this, you don't. Like, I've been doing this. Like, let's say I want to go teach martial arts at a school. They're like, well, you don't have this certificate, you don't have that. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you don't have the independent money and support, it's really hard to do a lot of these things. And, that's one of the arguments in society right now. And it's true, like, oh, you're privileged. Like, I don't like that word. I think it's silly. It's just, it is what it is. You are where you are. But if you have money, it's a lot easier. And the system is increasingly going in a way where if you have money, it's easier, and if you don't, it's harder, right? Like the capitalist thing, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like, I'm center right. That statement was 100% true 100 years ago.
Yep.
If you got up, you did the work, you can do stuff. You can't anymore because the system doesn't allow it. Because now there's all these taxes and all these regulations, and some of them are there for good reasons. They're usually completely mismanaged. And now you're fighting against so much more than you used to. Used to, if you could get a bunch of people together and had an idea and you just put in the work, you could probably figure it out.
Yep.
But now you want to start a business. Now you're starting a business. City comes along and says you can't do that. And you're like, why not? Because you can't. Someone's going to die. You're like, well, it doesn't seem like that. Right? And then they're like, you should know better. How?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know better? You guys barely tell anyone the rules and regulations. And when people try and figure it out, you either change them or you are belligerent or you have like B-class people working for you. So they can't even explain it. So it's a lot harder to get anything done now. And I'm all about structure. You need a skeletal structure, but you have to have that like hands-on. Do you ever watch Futurama?
I love Matt Groening.
Yeah, the God episode with Bender, like, you know the one?
When they're stuck to his ass.
Yeah,
that's one of the best ones ever.
He's like, the God, are you a supercomputer who got smashed in the God? I don't know, that's probable. He's like, you know you've done things right when no one's really sure you've done anything at all, but everyone wants credit. Everyone wants their name on stuff, but that's the reality. Is you need that loose skeletal structure, and then you kind of have to like let people figure it out, but you still have to like, no, you're going the wrong, hey, go that way, you know?
Do you find like when you go into a program as well, like you aren't mentoring the people who are like seeking help, you're just being placed? Like it's such a big difference when people are in the mind frame of like, hey, this is super beneficial, rather than like, hey, I'm here to help you. Like with what? Yeah,
people have to want to be helped. And I think that's an issue with the left-wing ideology is everyone can be helped. Yes and no.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you've been around really bad alcoholics, right? Right. So I did a Camp My Way thing a little while ago. It wasn't for alcoholics, but there were some alcoholics there, and they were telling me about the success rate of halfway houses, and half the people die.
Yeah, terrible.
And the reality is they don't want to get better. And so all the science is, well, they just need support networks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, you definitely need support. If you don't have support, it's not going to happen. But guess what? Some people, they just don't want to get better, even with support. What are you supposed to do with that, right? So, and it's a hard thing for humans who want to help to realize, hey man, that person's just going to kill himself.
Yep.
It's unfortunate. We would like to reduce that number, but it's not always possible. So, I've taught people or been in places where you can tell they're just kind of there and they don't want to learn.
No, they need like a 15-minute timeout from like the chaos of their life, and then they're going to go resume.
Yeah.
Which is, honestly, the chaos that's in these people's lives, like it's understandable.
Yeah.
Like you want a clean bed, a meal, a shower, then boom, you're going to go back to like doing what you were doing.
Yeah.
But the people who listen to you speak, like come up to you for help, put in the effort, really just understanding that every decision that they're making is a detriment. Like it's crazy to figure out as an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like my brain lies to me.
Yeah.
My instincts try to hurt me.
Yeah.
Like it's a crazy realization that when my self-will takes over, I make poor decisions that harm me.
Yeah.
That's literally how my brain works, man.
Yeah. I was fortunate for me, like I drink still. I'm drinking less than I used to. That I was never a bad alcoholic, so that's very lucky for me. But I'm not gonna lie. I use drugs and alcohol to manage my mental health.
Yeah, that's what we think they're there for, man.
They aren't though. That's the thing. Is and for being a recovering alcoholic, it's fine. Some people need to do that. If you've been listening lately, you probably hear me talk about some drugs and stuff a little bit, and it's as we learn more about the brain and we learn more about being human and what we need and don't need, it's complicated. And like, do you drink coffee?
Yeah.
That's a drug.
Absolutely.
Right? I've heard this. I keep talking about it recently. It's a fascinating. I forgot who I was listening. I listened to too much stuff, and he was just talking about the history of a coffee, and that Western productivity went up the moment they introduced the coffee break, because before that everyone was drinking all the time because water was unsafe to drink.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So tea and coffee actually helped humans move forward because now people sobered up. So for the Industrial Revolution, it helped, and then also the caffeine now allowed people to be more productive. But the question is not whether you're taking a substance or not. It's, is it healthy for you, and what are you using it for, and what doses are you taking it? And that's what we're starting to find out. Mm-hmm. Some people can't. No. Some people need something, right? Prescription drugs, for some, like I would say 10 to 15% of people on like mental health prescription drugs need to be on that thing. The rest of them probably don't. Maybe they only need to take it once a week. But the same is for alcohol or MDMA for PTSD or psilocybin for depression or this stuff. You take it to help you be optimal. Yep. That's the way I've started looking at it. Like the social, I do that too. Like for me to go be around like other people's friends, I gotta drink or I'm gonna want to shoot myself. Mm-hmm. Like metaphorically, of course. And it's fine and it doesn't bother me. But I know other people can't do that because then they just get shit-faced and start smashing shit or fighting, and right? Yeah. And that's the thing, is what's optimal for everyone is different. And figuring it out, that's the hard part. Mm-hmm. What do I need to do or take so that I can survive? Like caffeine, I switched coffee. Like I need coffee now after university, yeah. But I switched to a healthier coffee so that I'm not like caffeine dosing all the time. Not decaf, but just a different one. And again, if no one tells you, and you have to work a full-time job, and you have stress or you have kids, you don't have time to look into what is optimal for you. Some people will take that opposite, where fuck my kids, I'm focusing on me, which is not great either.
Also a bit terrible.
You know, one thing about teaching kids, switching topics, that always drove me nuts is, and I've only done kids programs a little bit because it just never took off in this city, is they drop their kids there so you can teach them the discipline or structure that they refuse to teach. And then I find myself getting frustrated because the parents keep undermining all the lessons that I taught to the kids. Have you ever found that?
Some of the worst experiences I've ever had in coaching have come with the parents. The parents, man. I'll never blame a kid. Yeah. I just can't. Like, a kid can be very rude and disrespectful, and I won't enjoy teaching them, but I'm not going to blame them. Yeah. I've had parents come up to me, they're like, sorry, my kid's a little asshole. I'm like, yo, that's your child. Yeah. Like, don't speak about him like that. Yeah. And like, hey, and he's like that because of what you've created in your home. Yeah. And like, I don't know, it's very uncomfortable, but I came from a home that just had like legitimate unconditional love. Yeah. And like
very Latin. Yeah. Like it's a very Latin cultural thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I am like, it's weird to say, but I'm like the light of my mom's life. Right? And I'm very lucky to have that. Yeah. And even with all that, I still ended up like hurting myself and being like not the most mentally sane person, and I made bad decisions. So just like not seeing a parent who's in the corner of their child, it's very difficult. But like you said, it's hard to just teach kids who just don't have that structure at their house.
Yeah, because you're fighting. Like if you only have them an hour a week or 2 hours a week, it's like
you're not teaching them anything about the sport you're focusing on. You're teaching them just like how to sit still and listen. Yeah, like this isn't what you're paying me for. Come on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when teaching kids, you kind of have like a lot. Like, so one of the issues with Krav Maga in Vancouver is, I think it's specifically in Vancouver, they're like, I'm not taking my kid to Krav, it's too violent, right? Mm-hmm. So I think if I ever ran a kids program again, it would be kids martial arts, and then I'm teaching them Krav Maga and Jiu-Jitsu basic, kickboxing, wrestling, and Jiu-Jitsu, depending on the age group. Like 5 to 8, you're teaching them body movement, basic wrestling, basic kickboxing, basic jiu-jitsu, and some basic self-defense. And then once they're 8, they can start conceptualizing things a little bit. You can start teaching the more so. But parents here in Metro Vancouver, the snobby attitude. You know, when you couple rich kids, parents I've talked to, I want to like smack them. It's like
they need it, man. They just got lawyers.
The parents, because they're like, I'd love to do the kid martial, but it's too violent. It's too violent. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. And they're like, oh, I'm taking my kids skiing this week. I'm like, motherfucker, do you know how many people die every year skiing? A lot more. I think one person might die doing martial arts every like 5 or 10 years in North America because it's some ridiculous situation.
Yep.
In skiing, it's like 10, 20, 30, 40 people a year, not to mention all the you're messed up if you're injured. And like the perspective people have, it's like, no, your kid would benefit from martial arts. So when you go, drive faster. When you go, a lot of parents are like, I want you to, if they walk into a kids program and there's no structure, no discipline, they're like, I don't want this, because they want someone else to teach their kid that.
Yeah.
Which is good, but it's because sometimes kids respond better to other like third party people just because they don't have the attitude. But the parents, people don't want a parent, you know. You have to tell your kid no, set boundaries.
Yep.
Don't let them behave like that.
You excited to have one?
Yes and no. Like, being a martial artist, it's not the ideal financial situation, but hey, I'm a teacher, so it makes it easier. Like, I can teach the kid. This is not a cheap city. Like, I really want to homeschool my kid.
Oh.
Because I don't trust the system anymore.
How would you improve their social interactions?
You got to make them do hobbies, right?
Yeah, you'd put them into sports and...
Yeah, like I was thinking about it, like as much as I'd love to teach them the martial, I'll teach them at home, but I would probably purposely take them to someone else's program.
Yeah. So
that they have that third party person to so it's not like they need someone else to teach them sometimes. Or
absolutely.
There are like homeschool. People always think the homeschool kid's weird.
Oh, facts.
Yeah. But like
the homeschool kid and the only child are still like...
It's because the parents are weird.
Kids. Yeah.
Because if there's a lot of like homeschool programs where they call them unschooling now or something, where the kids are phenomenal because the parents really looked into how to do it right. And they socialize the kids and they teach them critical thinking and they have the kids doing projects and they make sure they're exercising. Like, do you know who Ben Greenfield is?
No, I do not.
Yeah, he took his kids out of school. He was like the best personal trainer in America for a while.
Oh, wow.
He was making like $2,000 for half, like that kind of guy. And he has a podcast now, but he's like a biohacker. And actually, he was like the start where I started really looking into you can actually like fine tune your body and stuff. There's other people like Mike Metzel, who's really good. He was like very not anti-COVID, but like he's being objective. But anyways, Ben Greenfield a few years ago pulled his kids out of school, partially because he's religious. It turns out he's really religious, and he didn't like the school system. They're going way left. So if you're a religious person now, it's very hard to be in public school. I'm not a religious person at all. I just don't want you teaching my kid nonsense. And so his kids are like phenomenal. Like he's got twins. He'll have his kids on. He had like this therapist on the global podcast with his kids, and the way the kids are acting, it's like, holy shit, like those kids are going to be like phenomenal when they're older.
That's awesome.
So it's very much, in order to do it right, the parent has to be present, or a parent has to be present, and then a parent has to be able to actually teach them this stuff. Now, if you don't know science, well, the good news nowadays is called the internet. There's lots of good programs you can do. So as far as the academics, homeschool kids with a good program are going to learn at a much more rapid pace.
Absolutely. Every homeschool kid that I've ever met was finished like their 12th grade syllabus. Like they're done with that in
like grade 9 or 10.
Grade 9 or 10.
Yeah. Which just shows you how much a waste of time the current structured system is.
Man, I must have been one of those kids who just needed to go slow then.
Yeah.
Like,
no, not necessarily.
I was a very smart kid. Yeah. I thought school came to me very easily. I had A's and B's, and I never really tried very hard. But
it's like an efficiency. It's the same for me. I was probably one of the smartest people in the classes periodically. My grades were mediocre. I didn't respect the teachers. I thought they're morons. I even questioned them on sometimes, like, what are we even doing? Or like, I asked an English teacher once, what is the educational value of what we're doing right now? And she told me, shut up and do your work, which means it was nothing. There was no reason for us to do it.
Exactly.
Or I'm learning history, and you're going to give me 10% of my grade on drawing? Dude, I'm not an art student. What the fuck are you? Well, we need to make it fair for the kids who don't teach better.
Yeah. Draw a map or something?
Like, why do map is fine, but they wanted like these artistic shit. Like, I'm like, dude, I aced the tests.
Yeah.
Like, I understand this stuff. but 10% of my grade is how good of an artist I am. What the fuck is wrong? No, well, you didn't put any effort. It's like, I'm not an artist. I don't want to do it. I don't care.
Now it's kind of coming back to me. I had to make like a game or something in
They
like
think
my
they're
history
being,
class. Yeah,
it's like, dude, no. You could even like, I believe in grades still because it's a baseline. But if you want to have a fluctuating grade, like, hey, that kid, if he can show me he understands through a picture, cool. But if that kid can show me through the test, he can understand, cool. But guess what teachers aren't going to do because that's too much work? That.
Yeah.
You know? Like, school was boring for me. I wish I skipped more, to be honest. I was like a square. Like, I was very, like, I'm probably on the spectrum. I was like, I got to follow the rules. And I wish I broke more rules when I was younger. Because then I let loose when I was older. Because I think that's the time to explore, but with guidance.
Got you.
You know, so if you get like a homeschool kid who's done at 16, academic, I think that go work, go do stuff.
Go on vacation.
Go travel, go do whatever. You can't, society doesn't allow that anymore.
No. You go right into the workforce and then like your life's buried in
No, not even. They won't even let you do anything at 16 now in North America.
McDonald's not even?
No. Well, you could. Actually, the one up the street is still teenagers, but a lot of them, it's like immigrants now. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of teenagers with like 50% immigrant adults and 50% like kids.
Yeah.
And even then, you know, like if you don't know someone in the restaurant, you're not going to get in. You need a friend who is working there. That's how I got in 10 years ago. That's how you have to get in now. Like, it's not like, oh, that's your entry level job. It's no, do we trust you?
Absolutely. Are you cool to work a shift with?
Yeah.
Like, it's more important.
I didn't mind, but I realized it's how such a poorly managed company like that is one of the biggest in the world. I don't understand how any of these companies get to where they are. I don't know. What's the shitty, other than ditch digging, what other kind of stuff did you do?
Oh, I washed dishes down here at the Ricky's.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I used to work there, and then right around the corner, my friend sold crack.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Yeah, for the day and night right there.
Is it still there?
The day and night, I think that little convenience store is still there.
Yeah, some of those day and nights all shut down. A lot of them. I remember those. That used to be in Richmond, one of the only 24-hour places before all the Chinese restaurants opened up.
Yeah,
and it's crazy how it changes. So if you were to go back to, I don't know, let's say grade 8, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh man, John, that's a difficult question.
To think about.
Yeah, I mean, I feel at 29, I feel like I've lived 3 lifetimes.
Yeah, right.
At least. Every 5 years of my life, like just the increments of 5 years, look nothing like the previous ones.
Yeah.
Like, I guess just don't be so fixated on controlling things.
Yeah.
I really wish as a kid I believed something was taking care of me.
Yeah.
And I just let things come to me. I really needed to be like this director of my life, and if I had my heart fixated on something, I needed to make it happen.
Yeah.
That's not life, man. You're going to take L's.
Yeah.
Right?
L's.
You're going to take L's. Things aren't going to happen how you plan it. I'm so glad my life didn't turn out how I planned it in 8th grade.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
Right?
Still don't know what I want.
Exactly. But the big difference is I'm just much happier with the human being that I am today at 29 compared to 8th grade. I was just, self-esteem, bad choices, starting to deal with consequences, which is like you're turning into an
bills,
adult.
Man.
For real. But I mean, like in 8th grade, I was really starting to deal with like the law.
Yeah.
I was really getting in trouble. I think in 10th grade was the first time I got jumped. 12th grade, I was getting into fights. People were showing up to my house and destroying my property and I had incidents with people with machetes and.
You hear these stories and it's like crazy.
It's crazy, man. Life happens fast and you're like, how did I get here, man?
We're in Surrey. No, I'm kidding. Right outside our car.
But like, I appreciate how you teach, man. It goes to like, what decisions are you making?
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy, like when no one tells you that growing up, you're not going to think like that.
Yeah.
You just kind of go with the flow and you're like, oh, now we're doing this? All right, I don't want to look uncool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. For me, like, I wasted a lot of time doing nothing. So, like, I think younger, you really want to explore the world safely, but learn how to, like, I didn't take risks at all. Like, it might have been an autistic thing. I've never been diagnosed, but I'm very suspect.
I'm not nodding in agreement. I'm just that you brought it up before. I'm like, man, that's, if you feel that, like,
it's like, it's not a thing. Like, I don't need a diagnostic. It's just what it is like, let's say you are autistic. It's how you see the world. So for autistic people to fit in, they have to not try to control everything, because that's like the way they have to control. Like, the more autistic you are, you have to control. If the rules don't match, if the pattern doesn't match, you lose your shit.
Yes.
So I suspect I was a little bit, because if I don't understand the rules, so I would never go somewhere where I didn't know people. I wouldn't ask the girl out. I wouldn't do this stuff. Of course, I wasn't that confident in myself. And, one of the pieces of advice my mother gave me, that's probably one of the only things I probably should have listened to, was, you're not going to meet girls if you don't go out and do stuff. And I was like, no, that's not how it works. But that's the one thing she said I should have listened to. Because I feel like if, you look at, like, say, it wasn't like a ladies' man in high school. Like, I wasn't uncool, but everyone knew who I was, but I didn't fit in. It's like a weird situation. But it's like, if I could have got the girls thing out of the way younger, you build confidence. You meet a lot. I'm sure you met people nowadays who, like, they're in their mid-20s and never had a partner.
Yeah.
And, like, they're not confident people because they haven't got that, like, key milestone out of the way. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying teenagers go fuck around, but it's like, experience the relationships early, learn how to interact with other human beings early in a safe way. Explore, do things. But what you said, don't be so rigid. Like,
everyone's living their own reality where you think you are the center of it.
Yeah.
You
well,
think
you are, but you're not.
You think the entire world sees your failures.
Yeah.
And they care.
Yeah.
No one fucking cares, man. If you go out and ask that girl and she says no, like,
no one knows.
No one knows. No one cares. No one's really gonna hold it over you. But, like, at the time.
And if they gossip, fuck them. Like, you don't want to be around that shit. Like,
no, that's so whack. That's so whack. How can you make fun of some kid for trying?
Well, they will. It's like Mean Girls, that movie. It's like, and they'd be like, who cares? Like, everyone wants to fit in with the popular kids, but then, statistically, you look at the popular kids 20 years later, and it's like, some of them do well, but, like, a lot of them, like, it's like they're still working at nothing wrong with waitressing, but, like, they're still doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
They're not that much different from what they were. Mm-hmm. You get the occasional hot girl who's like a model. Now they're all on OnlyFans, right? Before it was like, I'm going to go be a model, or I'm going to be like an Earl's Girl. You knew the popular girls were in the Earl's Girls. It's a restaurant here. So it's growing up is tough though, and I think I feel like the school system is trying to be mentors where parents are absent, but they're doing a terrible job.
I never got a good mentor from school.
Yeah.
It takes, like, it's a combination of people who know what they have and not hoarding it. What do you mean? Like, this worked very well in my life. It was given freely to me. I should give this to other people.
Yeah.
That is the best thing from a mentor. It's not like, I'm so fucking good at this. People need to know how I do this. It's just like, this works in my life. Pure benefit.
Here's what I learned,
Man, that's a huge difference. That's like, those are humble people.
Yeah. Being humble, like, people always talk about being humble. It's very much a social thing. Because if you're humble, people will like you better because you're actually managing their ego, not yours.
True.
Right? If you're humble, you're not making them feel bad because of their inferiorities. Being humble is, I always had a weird with it. It's like, be humble, be humble. I'm like, I don't think it matters that much, man. Like, because being humble is more about other people, not you. So, like, a lot of the most successful people in the world are not that humble. The only reason why they don't say much is because they don't want to get sued. But if you meet them in their private life, a lot of them are probably like, yeah, whatever the fuck, like, some of the really most successful people. But it's about managing other people. Like, I was thinking, like, Jocko Willink.
Yes.
Like, I've always had, there's something off. Like, I'm not going to, no one in the world, if I'm like, I have a problem with Jocko's leadership, they're going to be like, you're an idiot, right? Because he's very successful. If we look up to the successful people, and I was just thinking about what about what he's saying that kind of bothers me. And it's that so much of what his leadership approach is about managing other people's egos. So I find it a conflicting message is you need to take responsibility, but you're also managing everyone else's egos. Mm-hmm. And the whole personal responsibility, I feel like people fuck it up all the goddamn time. And he talks about it. you need to fire people sometimes.
Yep.
But in his framework, it's you need to take responsibility as the leader and fire them, and you take all the responsibility because you don't want to affect that. It's really he's saying is don't affect their ego because it's going to make you look like a jackass. But my perspective is like if people are doing things wrong and nobody tells them, they don't know to get better.
A horrible disservice.
Yeah, and I am sure Jocko is actually telling people what they're doing wrong. But the way he's trying to send his message, I feel like a lot of people misinterpret that. And like he even said extreme ownership. He shouldn't have named it that because then you get all like the super crazy, like extreme ownership. He's like, no, man.
I don't want someone to teach me who wants that.
Yeah, like you need to actually teach them to be owner. Like if you go into a company and they're like, we're going to all take ownership, and it's like, but you're not taking ownership.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Because the whole culture has to be ownership. But to me, it's very much like I believe in being direct. I know it's not a popular thing because everyone's ego gets hurt. But it's like, I don't have time mentally, physically, emotionally to deal with your shit. Here's the problem. Take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't manage other people's egos very well.
No, it makes them go nuts.
Yeah. But it's the quick route.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of these management and leadership stuff really is about managing the other person's ego. It has nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to be likable, it's all about, like if you read How to Win Friends and Something People from Dale Carnegie, it's like a 100-year-old book.
No, I'm aware of it, never read it.
Yeah. It's overrated, I think. It's literally a book how to kiss people's ass. Like, that's how I read it. Some manager tried to give it me once. I read it. I'm like, this book is about kissing their ass. He's like, no, it's the leadership. I'm like, listen, man, like, if you need me to make you feel good about yourself just so I can get you to do something, like, that's exhausting. Some people can do it. I can't. Mm-hmm. But if you look into it, a lot of that is about managing other people's egos. It's not even about you. And it's just like, that's the world we're in because you brought up everyone's in their own little reality.
That's it, man. Once you can break out of that, once you can get like a fourth dimension shift, man, your life is so much better.
Yeah, and that's putting yourself in other shoes is like impossible for some people. Like
they were never taught. They were never been told that what they're doing is just like not working.
Well, even just that, like, have you ever thought that other people don't think like that? And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So like if you know me, I like politics. I'm genuinely trying to understand. Now I didn't used to do this, but I'm trying to understand where the other side is coming from. And I'm like, I understand their perspective. Their conclusion is fucked. But I get it. I get where they're coming from. And like like as a teacher, it's like trying to get people to realize like the world doesn't evolve around you, but in order for you to be successful in life, you need to be happy with yourself. It's like really fucked up.
That's true. It's a tightrope, man.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work. Take inventory, man.
Yeah.
Like
what do you mean by that?
Like daily. You have to think about your situations, what you've done, how you acted, and what sits well with you.
Yeah.
Right? That's important. Like you can't leave yourself unchecked.
In what sense? Elaborate. Expand on your universe.
Because, like, I have a lot of fear-based instincts. Like, I have a lot of things that drive me because I have fears.
Yeah.
Fear of humiliation, fear of loss, fear of inadequacy, all these things. Yeah. And they come out in different ways. They come out, like, I try to disguise it with, like, anger, like buying luxuries, lots of women.
Lots, emphasize on the lots.
Man, like just all these things that I try to disguise my fear in.
Yeah.
And like you kind of build yourself up. You kind of make this armor. You kind of make yourself into this person that you think you want to be.
Yeah.
And then once you realize like, hey, that person that I built doesn't make me happy. It takes a lot of work to not be that kind of like just take the layers off. So I can still fall into my old ways of thinking when I'm not present, when I'm not really in tune, because I have a higher power.
Yeah.
Really helps me out. Just anything that's not Nathan is pretty good in my books.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, I'll still do things just not thinking that it's just like the old Nate, man.
Yeah.
And I have to be able to like look at myself, see my actions, and go like, this is not me, man. I have to try to get rid of these shortcomings again. It takes a lot of work, man.
Yeah. Always like, who do I want to be? It's like, for me, it took me a long time to realize, like, in order for me to be happy, I have to actually be okay with the fact that a lot of people are not going to like me.
That's a tough one, man.
It's like I said, I think trying to fit in was causing me more mental health problems than actually just being like, hey, this is what I am, take it or leave it, and then trying to work with what I have and then I build something with it. It's kind of like I'm probably drawn to the school because I needed to build a place where it's what I want.
Isn't it nice not being a chameleon?
Yes and no.
Yeah, I mean, it's a skill you need for survival if you're out there, man, but it's nice being your genuine self every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages because I'm just like, I do what I want, but it's still, I am where I am because I burnt a lot of bridges.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can, you get people like, you need to behave like this if you don't want to burn the bridges, but I'm like, listen, it sounds arrogant, like I'm just in a different place than the rest of you mentally, and I just don't think a lot of people understand, like, at all. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult for me to meet people that can understand the way I think. And it actually wasn't until podcasts where I had access, like, I think podcasts saved my life. That's why, another reason why I want to do it, because all of a sudden, like, if you go to a high school, you get the teachers that you have. Yeah, you might have, there might be all morons. They might be all morons who are not good at educating and don't like being there. Some people will tell a story like they had that one teacher who changed their life. I didn't have any of that. But when podcasts happened, all of a sudden, it started with the Joe Rogan podcast. Actually, I broke my foot near the end of my Army service, and I was sitting there bored out of my mind, and I was playing around on iTunes listening to music, and then I was like, podcast, like, what's that? Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, Joe Rogan, the Fear Factor guy. And then I started, and then, at first it's his screwing around with the comedian, like, Red Band-Aids, it's like stupid shit, like, cool, like, whatever. But then he started having, like, scientists on. And then I started hearing these people talk. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Because what that world-class expert just said, I've thought before. But if I go talk to, my parents are good people, if I go talk to my parents, they're just going to look at me like I'm a crazy person. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want to talk about the universe, you want to talk about these reality and this and that, and you hear an astrophysicist talking about this, you're like, okay, well, I don't have a PhD, but I understand what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not alone anymore. I think that's the real reason podcasts have taken so off, because you can find your voice in a world of 7 billion people, or your people, if you can realize you're not alone in the world, one way or another. Versus the old school, you're in a small town, you're stuck with what you have, or you get the story where they go to a big city, and then you have to make it, and then people either love it or hate it. And even then, you find your people. It's difficult. The internet has changed that. Unfortunately, good and bad.
I mean, I found my humanity through films.
Yeah.
Films and music. I was that kid who didn't have my headphones off from, like, I don't know, 12 to, like...
Great situational awareness, but
Well, bro, for your mental health, though, right?
Yeah,
I just couldn't deal with just what I was thinking. I needed the music.
Yeah.
I needed to go home and watch a movie, man, and, like, just connecting with all ways of life. Like, movies make me feel human.
Yeah.
Which was, like, a very foreign thing.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, but, like, I love them, man. That's why I do.
What's your favorite movie?
The Godfather.
Godfather, why?
The Godfather. I think Don Corleone is just like, the most impressive male ever. Like, not for the criminal enterprise, just the way his thoughts on family and loyalty and how he raises his kids and the community he's built. I mean, I just think it's my favorite book too. I got the tattoo here on my forearm.
Oh, that's it. Which one?
This one here with the marionette strings.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm not a big enough fan to recognize that.
No, I absolutely adore it. But I've always loved gangster films, and I've always just really gotten along with gangsters.
Is it just because I did not? Like, I had to stay away. I would get in trouble, like, because I wouldn't make them feel stupid usually. So they don't like that too much. So I had a few run-ins where it's like, I need to go now. And then that saved me because I've picked up on it. And I'm like, I'm going to go. And then as an adult, you just don't even engage. You're not around those people anymore.
I've always just felt at home with the disenfranchised and the outcasts and the castaways. And
it's often a lot of people who do.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And now I try to help those people. I don't.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to sound cocky, nothing, but like I'm just the product of second chances.
Yeah. That's not even remotely cocky.
Man, I just don't want it to sound like, man, my life's so fucking good right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
A lot of people walked very slowly with me and just kind of taught me how to like be a man.
Yeah.
And now I do that with people like kids. I got friends who are like fresh out of jail. I got friends who, I lost 2 friends to overdoses during COVID, and one to a car accident, and we believe he was drinking and driving. So this is something that I really feel I'm supposed to do, is help these people.
Yeah.
Right? And just because even if you don't have problems that like I have, I'll try to help anybody. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be like doing smack for me to help you. Like, if you're just having trouble coping, like I'm a friendly dude. Like, I get along with a lot of people. That was not me.
Yeah.
Later, like earlier in my life, I had the biggest fuck you face on, and I didn't want anyone getting near me, didn't want anyone getting to know me, and it was just because I was scared.
Yeah. No, it's good. Like, I can't relate to those people. Like, I don't look down or anything, but I just cannot relate to that. It doesn't go. But I understand, like, it's like one of the podcasts I listen to is Tim Ferriss, and he comes from money. He's an angel. He's done really well for himself, but he talks about his mental health, and like that's what I was saying about the drug thing is you should look into like what they're researching at John Hopkins and all. They're opening up all these psychedelic places, and like you can hear in Tim Ferriss's voice, like I'm angry too, like the anger at the system that he talks about when he's talking about drugs, because I'm guessing that the thing that helped him was MDMA for his trauma. And he has to be very careful what he says. So they dance around it because he has money and he's involved in the research. But you can be like, that's the thing, is the system is not doing what it says it's doing. And so it actually takes individuals who are like, I realize the system is not doing what it's supposed to do. So I need to get involved in whatever way I can help to make people's better lives. And I generally think because of him, very much because of him and a few other doctors. Some doctors have been studying this for years, but they're finding out MDMA works for PTSD. It's amazing. And psilocybin for depression. Yeah. And then there's this thing you hear, I think ibogaine or something like that cures addiction. But you can't get it in Canada or the US. You have to go to like Panama or wherever, or Costa Rica to do these things like one time. But it has to be medically supervised over a week because it like fucks you up. But then
it rewires your brain or something.
It just people are like, I don't want to smoke again. I don't want to drink again. Like, and you hear about like these things exist. Like, man, that's what I was saying with the drugs is like, you can sit on a mountaintop like an asshole for 10 years and be that monk. You know who tends to do that? The rich people. They got the time to do that. The rest of us, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's just as history works, man.
But you hear these wealthy connected. A lot of the people I listen to, I'm like, okay, I just want you guys to realize you guys came from money. You went to Harvard. You have the time and energy and money to go sit on those yoga retreats. But for the rest of us, for whatever the reason, ain't nobody got time for that. So when I hear about these kinds of things, the shortcuts, you mean I can take something once a week or once every month for a year and I enjoy myself and fix my problem? Why the fuck didn't I know about this before? Yeah, and it's just, I don't know if it's a corruption or an intention thing, or it's like, and I'm not advocating someone just go out and I'm going to go do drugs because, hey, people do a lot of drugs for partying and they don't fix themselves. Because again, you have to want to fix yourself and you have to approach it in the correct way. Because obviously if you take some heroic dose of whatever drug, you're fucked up and you're not going to do anything. Like the research and let's just say anecdotal experience on the MDMA is, you need to take the right dose so you're not fucked, but you actually need to talk about your problems and what's going on while you're there. Because it seems like it drops your barriers. And all of a sudden, it does something called like decoupling, I think. So all of a sudden, people can like talk about their problems without the ego. And you don't even think, allegedly, and you just talk about it. And then you start like, oh, and you feel better. And according to the research, and people are finding that it's a phenomenal. And you can hear the way some of these doctors are talking. They have to be very specific in the words they're saying because there's government funding. And like, well, therapy's good too, and like this, it has to be like this, and then it's like, we need more people to get this stuff, and they'll tag that on. You're like, huh. So they're saying what they're saying because they have to, but the reality is, you can tell they believe like this thing it's going to put a lot of therapy out of business, right? It's an industry. You got to screw that industry. John Danaher, you know who he is? I talk about him sometimes.
Yeah, very famous BJJ coach.
Yeah, he was a philosophy professor at Columbia.
Yeah.
So he's an academic. He left academia for a reason. But he's like, in order for science to progress, you need the old people to die. And that's because you need the ego. I'm sure you heard this year. They're the expert. They've studied their whole life. They know better than you. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the history of science, and how many times has that guy who's spent his whole life studying it been completely fucking wrong? And the guy he ostracized and said was a kook turned out to be right.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what the open-mindedness and the critical thinking is like. What you think you know in your reality might not be true. So that's why you have to constantly question yourself. Is what I believe true? Like it's my truth. I hate that. I hate it. Because you're not actually being open-minded and realizing that it may be your truth, but it's irrelevant to that other person.
Yeah.
And we have to be in a productive society where we're interacting with each other. You can be like me and be like, fuck it, I'm doing my own thing, I don't care. It has its drawbacks. It's not for everyone. Why won't you play with me? It's like, oh yeah, they don't like you. Okay.
We like you, John.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Otherwise, people wouldn't come back. I have had students fucking storm out on me, though, before, once or twice. They just don't like me calling their bullshit.
That's all right. I keep bringing people in, though, so we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
The more the merrier. Well, that's the thing. It's a community. If you can build a community. Like, I didn't realize, I was ambitious and driven, and I've lost it a little bit because I'm just like, I'm not getting the results. But that's because I didn't realize in martial arts, and I was talking to Mike about this, in order for a school to do really well, you either need to be a world-renowned individual, or you need to start with a bunch of advanced students.
Who spread the word?
No, who are there to challenge it, because if it's just one guy, it's going to take forever.
Okay.
Now, I'm still developing my skill set. At the same time, you guys are developing your skill set. Now, if you have, like, Budo, there wasn't that, we was talking about Mike with him, and there wasn't that many people there for years.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, they started getting some purple and brown belts. Boom. It's exploded.
Gotcha.
Because you need enough students at a high enough level to stick around. Because if I'm teaching all brand new students, the skill development takes forever.
Yeah, I know those classes.
Yeah, forever. But hey, now I have half the students who've been around for even a year. And I purposely partner people up with each other. It speeds up the learning curve.
Those are great classes.
Yeah. And then now you have, I'm not there yet. Like, I've made 7 green belts since 2013. Most of them moved or disagreements or whatever. But it's a numbers game. Let's say I have 10, 15, 20 active green belts. That's when the school is going to be really good.
Got you.
Because now my advanced classes, there's 10 people in them. The novice classes are going to be like 20 people. Mm-hmm. Like, the biggest class I had in color belt was actually a couple weeks ago. Because after COVID, everyone's coming back. I had like 15, 20 color belts.
I'm starting to see some people come in with belts that I've never seen before.
Yeah. And I'm like, yes, finally you're coming back. Like, I've been coaxing some people. There's some people who are still COVID hesitant, and I'm just like...
That's crazy, man.
Like, man, I can try to send you all the links about the research, and people just don't.
You only got 4 hours, you said. You can't be doing that.
No, I mean, I have some bookmarks, but I have to back away. Like, certain cultures, like, it doesn't matter what I tell them. They're just like, no, the government said this, I'm gonna...
That's so like trash.
You're not critically thinking, man. I'll give you all the links to and then I'm not reading that.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like, they're still ongoing. Like, I'm friends with the guy involved in it now, a lawsuit against the provincial government for how they handle COVID. Mm-hmm. Now, internationally, everyone's like, oh, Dr. Bonnie Henry is so amazing. I'm like, what did she do? I'm still not sure what she did.
Me neither. Just tell us we couldn't go hang out.
Like, I'm fairly certain we did well initially because there's so many Chinese people in Metro Vancouver. They all just locked themselves up and disappeared. And that's why we did so well. nothing. I don't know what she did in the first wave. It's the second wave that they started getting involved in everything. I'm like, I still don't understand what they did. But anyways, the purpose of this lawsuit is to set precedents, at least my understanding, that governments can't just make arbitrary, even in emergencies, decisions without showing the public what are they basing their decisions on.
Yeah.
Because one of the issues in BC is even with other provinces, they're not sharing their numbers. Now the claim is it's racist. Why is it racist? Oh, well, because it's particular groups that are showing spikes. Okay. It's not about the rate. Why? Oh, it's because coming from, maybe stop travel from that country. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with race. That's where the thing is. And so they were trying to play up this like left-wing bull, and everyone is mad at them. Even the other governments are like, why aren't you showing your data? And so the purpose of this lawsuit is set precedents. If you're going to make emergency decisions, that's fine. It needs to be based on something, not I think, or I'm being yelled at, so, which is what a lot of the policies were made of. So I tried to approach the martial arts community. It's like we were one of the industries getting hammered.
Yes.
Hard. And I'm like, hey, here's a lawsuit. We can all, because they were talking about getting a lawyer. And then I started looking for a lawyer. No, this is why a lot of them hate me more now, because I'm like throwing them under the bus. But it's like, hey guys, here's a lawsuit. Like, this is an active, ongoing lawsuit that might actually go through, because a lot of lawsuits, unfortunately, are just for public. The lawyers want to look good. So
okay.
It's like a lot of Trump's lawsuits were just bullshit. Like, they were such garbage. It's like, you need better lawyers. And then someone said, he's not doing it to win. He's doing it to bring attention to stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn it. But anyways, and I sent them all the initial lawsuit thing. I'm like, we need to get behind this. And like, we're not reading this. It's only like 14 pages. It's not like a 100-page document. It's it's legal. It's a little dense. I understand. But it's like, explain it to me in simple terms. And I said, it's about stopping governments from doing this again. I don't want to get involved in that. So you don't want to protect your business for the future. What if this happens again? Well, we'll just have to do what we have to do.
What does that mean?
At the end of the day, it's people are in their own world.
Yeah. And
they don't want to draw attention to their school for allegedly breaking the rules continuously, because they weren't really enforcing it in British Columbia. It's not like Ontario or like Nazi Germany. They were not kicking down doors here.
No. And
the only people who were getting in trouble here were the ones that the media had picked on, and then the whole public and all the Karens start yelling at each other.
And that one guy who kept having parties in his penthouse.
Well, that guy still doesn't give a fuck.
No, he doesn't.
He's got so much money. He's like, come at me, bro. Like, you gonna throw me in jail for this shit?
It's like this twice in 1 week.
And
man.
the judge was just like, dude, if someone dies as a result of this, I thought that was such a dick thing for the judge to say. It's like, do you as a judge know enough about this? I don't think you even as a judge has looked into this.
No.
And if I was a lawyer, I should have been a lawyer. I would say, Judge, you can't use that argument. Why not? Well, there's kind of precedence on this. Is because I don't know if you remember, when we were kids or younger, probably still at the same time, something happened at a house. Someone died at a house party, or something happened. And there was all these laws about a parent is now responsible for anything that happens in the house. And parents are like, listen, man, I can't be if I have to go to a work thing and my jackass kid throws a party, you're telling me I'm responsible because someone drink and drive?
Yeah.
Well, a few years later, they got rid of that because, like, this is absurd. Mm-hmm. That's the precedence. I am not responsible. If everyone knows that COVID's a thing and they choose to come to a party, I, as the party owner, are not responsible. They made a choice as the adult. Yeah. And that's what COVID was all about, is controlling. Everyone wants to control for their own worldview. Like, if you feel it's best for you to stay at home, cool. I felt it was best for me to keep doing what I'm doing. I bet you if I go get a T-cell test, I'll test as having T-cell immunity. Like, I was sick a couple times this year, and I stayed away from people.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, and I don't know if I had COVID or not, because the testing wasn't ready yet.
No, the testing was very hard to
It took them forever. Yeah. So it's not my fault. There was no testing at the time, even if I wanted it. Nobody in my world died. I was around my parents who were older. I kept distance, but I would go see them. I told them, take vitamin D. Hey, you should be going for walks every day, do exercise.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who died. Even they know one person, obscure person who's older and died.
Fear of the unknown, man.
Yeah.
Drives people nuts.
To be fair, I know there are people who have like 5 people die.
Karl Anthony Towns, basketball player.
I have no idea who that is.
Bro, his mom, his
Yeah.
grandma, his
Yeah.
like aunt. It's
Now,
crazy.
is he black?
Yes.
Yeah. So, this could go on so many. Actual science, vitamin D. Black people don't absorb vitamin D very well unless they're in a very sunny area. So if you're growing up in like New York or Chicago, and it's cloudy and it's rainy, they really need to supplement vitamin D. And apparently it's not just a vitamin, it's a hormone. Like I learned all this stuff this year. I'm white as fuck. I'm part Irish. Guess what the sun likes to do with my skin? Absorb vitamin D. So much so, I was taking vitamin D all winter, like a lot more than normal because of COVID. The last, 3 months or 2 months, it's been really hot. I felt weird. I had to stop taking vitamin D because my skin is absorbing it again. Yeah, so that level of understanding, the black community was getting it hard because they have low vitamin D. Their diets are not healthy. You can say whatever you want about the why. Eat better, guys. Take vitamin D. So certain communities were getting hit for those two reasons. Their communities, for whatever reason, skin color does matter for that. It's actual science, but they don't want to talk about it because what's going to happen?
Racist claims.
Racist claims. This is definitive. Like, hey, the color of your skin dictates how much vitamin D you can absorb. That's not rocket science. So instead of our experts being like, hey, you guys should take vitamin D. If you feel weird, lower the dose. If you're not sure, consult your doctor. Hey, maybe you should be going for walks. Hey, maybe if you're stuck at home, do squats. I didn't hear any leaders talking about that. This was the chance to combat obesity. This was the chance to combat poor health choices. And they blew it and doubled down on body shaming. And I'm like, face palm. Like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of fat people with masks on going to get McDonald's. I'm like, man, you can't just protect yourself on your way to kill yourself.
As much as I love an Egg McMuffin, if I eat it for too many days in a row, I feel it.
Egg McMuffin, man. I'm having that Baconator, dude. Once a year just to feel like shit.
Yeah. Well, no, because it's real eggs, at least. Whether the factory they get the eggs from is good or not. But it's real eggs, at least the McMuffins. The bread is always questionable. It's better here than the States. I can't eat fast food in the States. I die because the shit they put in the food there.
The sugar.
Yeah,
the
the
sugar
sugar,
content.
just the other stuff. So, like, for me as an instructor, like, I want people to know this stuff. Like you say, you don't even know half this shit.
No.
Who's going to tell you? Nobody. You have work. How long do you work every day?
9 hours with an hour break.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, man.
And you're dialed in, right?
I have little breaks. I usually have the news open or like a podcast on.
Are you on a computer?
I'm on a computer.
Here's the thing, though. You're not actually listening to the podcast. I mean, you're listening, but you're not really listening. If you're focused on work, you're focused on a task. You're probably not absorbing all the information, right? So even if you're like listening to it, now imagine you're a construction worker. A lot of places you can't have earbuds on.
No, absolutely not.
I disagree with that on the state of the construction site. If the envelope's on and you're inside, I could care less, but I don't make the rules.
Yeah.
Like painters, like at that point, it's my perspective. I know they don't agree with me, but it's like if you work all day, come home, you have kids, and let's say you're not academically inclined because you had a bad experience or it's just hard for you. Who's going to tell you?
The dudes at the water cooler have
Yeah, the dudes at the
misinformation.
Well, misinformation is an interesting one. Misinformation versus disinformation. What's the difference?
I don't know.
Misinformation is just incorrect information. Disinformation is an intentionally manipulative information.
Oh.
Who does what?
Leaders.
Leaders use disinformation. No, you're wrong. And it's hard, like, again, reading between what we sort of talked about earlier. How do you, if I'm working a full-time job and I have kids, how the fuck do I know what to do about anything? That's why we trust our experts. It's your job to figure this shit out and tell me. What are experts? Humans.
Oh.
What do humans do?
They make mistakes and they embellish and they try to make themselves look good.
The ones who don't do that are never going to be the ones in the media.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who actually want to tell the truth aren't allowed to. And I actually I find environmental alarmism disturbing because it's not productive. On the other side, if you say humans aren't altering the environment, you're an idiot.
Just a complete idiot.
So where's the middle ground? like let's say the pipelines. Canada's in trouble because that was a huge basis of our economy, and no one did anything to replace that in the economy. So let's say we want to get rid of oil as our main thing around the world, and you still need oil for some things, but generally they say it takes 10 to 20 years. A lot of the alarmists are like, shut the pipeline off now.
Which would devastate the entire country.
Do you know how anything works, guys? I'm all for like transitioning. Let's get it out now. Let's do it as safely as possible, and in the 10 to 20 year process, switch over to renewables.
Yes.
So the alarmism, it's not useful. So at the time, back in Canada, we had Stephen Harper. Everyone's like, he's muzzling the scientists. He's muzzling the scientists. He's not letting the scientists talk. So you guys already know the government's muzzle scientists when it doesn't go suit their narrative.
Yep.
Now the same scientists are saying, no, trust the science, trust the process, listen to all of our experts. And then other people are saying, you're muzzling the science. No, we're not. It's not possible. The science is infallible. That's not how that works. So we already have precedents that you guys have already said governments can muzzle the scientists. The ones who agree with the government get the voice. The ones who disagree with the government get muzzled. It doesn't matter what the topic is. So what's the science?
Who can scream the loudest, man?
That's what it's becoming. Who can scream the loudest? It's not the actual science. And then they fall back behind... it's an evolving process, correct? But then you have to admit when you're wrong.
And include the other side.
There is a debate in science. Yep. If you don't have a debate, it's not science.
Nope. Has to be tried and tested, man.
Yeah, right? So it's complicated. How do you go from a Surrey kid who's borderline gangster, let's say, just for the sake of it?
Oh, man. No.
Close.
Gangster adjacent.
Spend the time just to figure out how to live life and then make sense of all the shit around you.
Definitely a process of like just making giant mistakes and then just realizing that this isn't good for longevity.
Yeah, right.
This is
what's not good for longevity, I should say. Clarify.
Well, I couldn't delay gratification at all. Mm-hmm. Everything, I needed things quickly. I needed things like right away. I never could really think about like the long-term goal. I would need short-term gratification constantly. And, I mean, it just cut me off. Like, I missed a lot of opportunities that way. And then, I guess, the way I deal with things now, it started with being able to ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was...
It's so important to be able to do that.
Dude, like, it was, like, impossible for me at first. It was unfathomable. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I have to stay in this shell and just, like... pretend I got it. Like, I need to figure it out. And it was totally uncomfortable, man.
Yeah. The worst is when you ask for help and no one wants to help. Right?
And you got to be able to ask for help more than once.
Yeah. Give me help. No. Give me help. No. And that's what it's saying about you got to find your people eventually. If you get out there and look, you'll find help. Because, like, you can ask for help, and if people don't like you, you're not getting it. So that's where that likability, that's where my style comes into problems. Hey, I need help. Fuck you. Mm-hmm. Told me to ask for help. They didn't really mean it.
Yeah, man. But, like, there's helpful people out there, which is crazy, because when you just really ball yourself up in the world, like, you just don't see them.
Yeah.
You don't see them at all. You just think people are a certain way.
Like you were saying early on, like, you were kind of stuck in your way, right?
Bro, when I say stuck in my way, like, I wouldn't leave my room.
Yeah. Don't tell me what to do.
Not even with my parents. I was just like, I was like totally comfortable in a dorm room, man.
I wonder if, like, because now that's what everyone's doing is they don't even want to go out anymore. They're all, I mean, you can make money playing video games. Nothing wrong with that if that's their living. Just get up and do some exercise, you pale, pasty person. I'm kidding. I'm teasing. But, like... That's the thing, is people are more comfortable doing that.
It's safe when people don't go against what you think in your reality, man. When people shatter your reality and you're not ready for it.
Yeah. Well, even just, like, accepting reality sometimes. Okay, this is what it is. I don't have the cards that I want.
Yeah.
How do I play it? Right? And, well, one, you need to know the rules. Two, you need to know what you can play. Two, you need to know when to fold. You need to know when to do. That's the tricky part, right? And so if you don't go out and do stuff, you don't get out of explore and learn and interact, you're not going to get the iterations. That's the word I've been using, like just constant iterations to get things to figure out. Did I go left 1,000 times? Maybe I should go right.
I mean, I was just really stopped from a fake sense of perfectionism for a very long time. I was very scared to start.
What do you mean by like a fake sense of perfectionism?
Because like I didn't want to be humiliated when I started something. I wanted to be good at it immediately.
I see.
Yeah, and when I wasn't good at it immediately, I would shelf it. When really, I've never been inherently great at anything off
Most
the rip.
people aren't.
Exactly. And I need a lot of reps. I need a lot of iterations for anything that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Just to get good at it.
Yeah.
And, you know, that way of living is just so much better. I don't think I'd be in Krav if I continued with my old ways. Like, I'd want to come in, knock someone out,
I need to be amazing. Home. Show me how to stab people. I'm sure you've held me. Those new students are the most annoying people because they're actually the ones that have the full cup. They're not coming in with the empty cup. I saw on the internet what Krav is. You're going to teach me all this. I'm like, dude, like, here's the system. To get your head around it and really understand 2 to 3 years minimum, or how long till I get my black belt? Those people never fucking stay. 10 years. Huh? Yeah. 10 years. Oh, I thought Krav was easy to learn. It is. But you still have to keep doing it. And you know, that's a common problem, like a lot like autistic people or OCD people. I need to be perfect. Jeff Bezos, even though he's a bit of a dick, but he said, I used to say 80%, he says 70%. I'm like, oh, I can lower my standards? Great. If you're obsessed with being perfect, you're never going to go anywhere. Because, and I'm guilty of this too, is like with writing, just put it out there. Like I started the blog just so I can put it out there.
And good for you, man. You know, one of the things I've always wanted to do is just continue to write scripts, and it's so hard to get that.
Write me some blog posts.
That's a good point.
The more students I have to write the blog, the bigger it comes and the better it is. And it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically, what's it called? Specific to self-defense. It could be life. You can connect it back to the principles. Like, I never realized I'd gotten good at writing in the sense that I just sit down and write. And whenever I have a topic that I'm like, I have to actually think, I'm lazy, okay. I have to actually think too much about it. I'm like, I don't want to write that topic. Could I come up with a better topic where I could just sit down and write? Yeah. But I notice that I'm a lot better than I used to, like a lot better.
That's the iterations, man. If I started writing scripts when I wanted to start, I would have improved exponentially.
Grammarly helps.
Yeah.
And an editor helps. A good editor helps because then you start to see your mistakes. But it's that feedback. You need that feedback. And it's just subtle. It's like there's this guy at Budo. And I told him yesterday, like, holy shit, you got so good. Like, this skinny little kid. He was just like a wet noodle. He'd been coming, he's like 2, 3, 4 years, I don't know, a long time. And it's like, dude, you suck. But he kept coming. And now I was like, holy shit, like, I actually have to try now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, when I tell people you suck, it's like, how do you want to resolve this problem? It's you can put in the iteration till you don't suck anymore. You might never be a world champion, so you have to be okay with that. You may become one. They're both possibilities. But you need to do the iterations. If you suck at it, you might say, I don't really want to put in the iterations. That's okay.
Yes.
Find something else. Right? It's that perfection thing. You're going to have to suck a lot to get good. Mm-hmm. Right? Like writing, like if I have a book idea, like a fiction book I always want to write, but it's a time consuming thing. And I know if I sit down and put 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, it'll get done eventually. Yeah. But I have this idea of what I want to be, and I'm still doing it. Like it's the idea of what I want this book to be. And I want it to be perfect, and I haven't written a single word yet. It's the same problem.
It's like that, man.
And then I get distracted with other shit. So I have my limited work time frame. Mm-hmm. Which causes issues because I have to do all my other shit. So it's like, but that's a common problem.
You can't discount the baby steps at all. Like, I've read so many books over the last couple of years just because I read 10 pages a day.
Yeah.
10 pages, that's it. I used to never be able to read a single one.
Yeah.
And just I would just buy books and put them all around me and just wouldn't open the covers, man.
Yeah.
It's just, you gotta get over it. You gotta dip your feet in.
Yeah. Well, here's another one. I hate reading.
Yeah.
I'll do. I can read really well, but I just don't like to sit down for 3 hours and read a book. I can, like Harry Potter, done in like 2 days. But generally speaking, no. Audiobooks, man. If your goal is information, you can get it.
Yep.
Now, if you want to write, you're gonna have to read because
Yes.
you have to read the sentence structure. You have to. So I read on like Facebook news and stuff. So that's the reading. Not the best, but still. But like that's the thing is you got to put in the work. That is probably one of the most consistent advices from like all coaches.
Yeah.
Put in the work.
Just like, who I should coach you if you're a prodigy. Like no one's gonna say
Yeah.
that. It's like, hey man, I'm gonna teach you one thing, and you're gonna have to do a lot of work on your own.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna fine tune.
Yeah.
It's all about what you do behind the scenes.
Yeah. There's it depends on. We'll find out what your perspective. Because some coaches will be like, the champion never produces more champions, right? But everyone wants to learn from him versus the crappy athlete who produces a lot. And there's different philosophies on how to do this. Some people believe it's systematized. Some people will say it's the coach. Some people will say it's the athlete. What do you think?
I think that personally I'm a good coach because I failed horribly in my goal to make the major leagues.
Yeah.
Like I know where my shortcomings were.
Yeah.
I know like what I would tell myself if I were to do it again.
Yeah.
And I can help younger players avoid these potholes that are like they're not exceptionally crazy ideas. Like I talk about like things like doubt.
Yeah.
And I mean like doubt was crazy for me.
Yeah.
Like I was a good baseball player, but I lost like a mental battle so often. I was able to do small things like just be a good teammate. I was able to make other people better. I put in crazy hours, but it was just all in my head that like doubt was my biggest killer.
Yeah.
And I can help younger players with that. Like everything's so like we have to work on mechanics, we have to work on gameplay, but like I really like teaching about the mental aspect of the sport that will crush you, and it's really hard to get over.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I needed my coaches, but like, they taught me how to be a good dude.
They were mentors, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of them I still talk to, and like they help me grow as a person.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
The concept of sacrifice often comes to success, and it's often associated with sports. What do you think about that?
You can't have one without the other.
Yeah. In what way?
I mean, for personal experience, I didn't go camping till I was like 15.
I gotta train.
It was like 6 and then like 15, man.
Yeah.
Like I missed a lot of parties for a dude who loved to party.
Yeah.
But like focus versus time. Like, I never thought about like what I'm losing. It's just like what do I have to gain for being here and present and attentive for my baseball career.
Yeah.
And that's what kept me going.
Yeah.
Because if I thought about all the time I was losing
Yeah.
doing other things, like I would be miserable.
Well, that's kind of what I said. I didn't do enough productive things when I was younger. Like, I feel like some athletes talk about sacrifice. I feel like a lot of successful people don't talk about what they sacrificed enough. As in, hey, I'm a millionaire, but I have no family. My family hates me. Or I'm a pro athlete, but same shit. Or I don't have this, I don't have that. And I feel like it's an important thing to tell people when you're talking about the sacrifice is that if you want that thing so bad, everything else doesn't matter, go for it. Just know you won't have all that other stuff. But people look at successful people or the pro athletes and they hear the word sacrifice. And for a lot of people, it will be destructive to sacrifice like that.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're that kid who ain't going to be the champion. Like George St. Pierre, he was talking about this. He's doing the podcast circuits the last little bit. And he's like, I'm doing MMA camps and, obviously people look up to me. I can't do the French accent.
Are you trying to do it?
No. I just in my head, I'm saying it in French, like French accent. And he's like, mothers and fathers come up with their kid. He's like, what advice do you have to tell my kid? He's like, don't do it, quit now.
Wow.
And he's like, it destroys. Parents are so mad at me because he's being honest.
Yeah.
First of all, it's true. If you're just the champion says don't do it, quit now, and you're discouraged, you didn't want it enough.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you definitely didn't want it enough, which means you're not going to be at the start. Anyway, you won't make it there. If you don't want to say, fuck you, I'm going to prove you wrong, you don't have what it takes to be there in the first place. But that's not why he's doing it. He's saying it because, he's like, listen, I've trained with a lot of people. This is a tough game. This isn't a sport where you can do for 5 years, make $100 million, quit, walk away. He's like, if you do this sport wrong, like, you're going to be messed up. That's why he quit. He's like, I can't get hit in the head anymore. And he's like, most of you are not going to make it, and you're going to wreck yourselves in the process. So, like, I appreciate his honesty on that. And a lot of people, like, they want that positive. Like, that's why I'm so against blind positivity, because I think it's not realistic. If you believe and you do it, and you have 5 concussions in the process because you were being stupid about it, right? And so, like, to hear a world-class guy that everyone respects be honest about it. He's like, listen, I don't think the sacrifice is worth it for most of you. Like, I have to be very careful about what I do. Now, he's a monster. Like, he still doesn't stop training.
Yeah.
If he fought, I honestly think if he went and fought most UFC guys now, he'd still fuck them up because he keeps his body where it is. But, like, that truth to these parents who were looking for inspiration, he's like, nah, they quit now. Find something else, get a different job. But then you hear his story. He's a garbage man. I worked 3 jobs. I worked my ass off. One, he had the drive and he sacrificed probably a lot. But he loves working out. I hate doing it. Like, man, I hate it. Jiu-jitsu is actually the thing that I love training. I love it. I train more of, it's reasons. But if you don't love it, it's going to be hard. And then if you sacrifice and fuck things up and burn those bridges, like, and you don't make it, you fucked yourself. So it's like that double-edged sword. You have to do it in order to get the iterations in and focus. But at what cost? And is it the right decision?
Yeah, and sacrifice is one of those things where it's just like an empty word. It's an empty word until you go through it, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say you might lose your family in the process of this and, like, feel that.
Yeah.
That's something you have to go through, and then you try to tell other people, man. That's something where it's like you got to bond with only the people who've gone through it.
Yeah. And if you're not making $100 million a year, doing that kind of sacrifice, people will bill on you.
Yeah, man.
And that's the truth. You have the $100 million, everyone's going to come out of the woodwork and be like, oh yeah, hey bro. But if you're broke for 10 years and you're sacrificing, whatever it is, for whatever reason.
They call you an overnight success.
Then they'll be like, it's a wonder. It's like, no man, like, I sucked for this bullshit. And then you know how many people don't want nothing to do with me? It's with my wife, she's always talking about the mating game, man. You cannot get away with it. Everyone is doing everything they're doing for status to get mates. Like, she's like always into that. And it's like, on paper, I'm not high on the mating game, objectively.
Is this a self-actualization, or is this something she said to you?
No. This is true. Like, this is a reality. I'm 5'6", don't have money. I'm a bit of a jackass. That I got this beautiful, smart wife who we get along with most of the time, right? And, we were talking about this, like, women, the mating game now is so hard because what do women want biologically?
Security, tall guy.
Security. Tall guy gives security because you're bigger, able to deal with threats physically.
Yeah.
This is just biology, right? Money gives you the ability to take care of your children. Mm-hmm. All this stuff. So what happens now with a lot of women is in the equal world that we live in, that's a little bit of a mess because people are being silly about it. Hey, you're a woman. You make $100,000 a year. Awesome. Guess what? Your mating pool based on biology is now shrunk because you can only now date guys who are tall and make more than you. Well, it's actually not that many people, objectively, in the whole world who make over $100,000 a year. It's probably like, let's say it's less than 10%, probably considerably less than that. But if you make $100,000 a year and you're hanging around $100,000 a year people, your mating pool is small now.
Yes.
And so the women who get over that often will mate down now. And they're fighting their biology because they now need to be with somebody who they're compatible with rather than someone who meets the mating game. But a lot of people are stuck in their biology. I think we're in a weird transition where our technology and our society is just not matching our biology, like at all.
No, not even close. Man.
And people are just don't know what to do with it. So you have to fight that urge, male or female. Like, believe me, I want to Genghis Khan the motherfucking shit out of this world. Ain't gonna happen, right? And I find someone that I'm compatible, like my best friend, I'm compatible with. It's like, even though my body's like, I want to do that, I'm like, I don't think that's in my cards, so I'm going to be happy with this, right? And people are always fighting that. And it's hard. How do you fight the thing that kept us alive, realizing intellectually I can't be like that anymore and I need to be happy? I think that's why people are going crazy right now.
I mean, when have they not in history gone crazy over women, man? And vice versa?
Well, men and women.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of wars have been started over women. And it wasn't just the male testosterone. Those women were instigating the fuck out of some of those guys.
What was Cleopatra up to, bro?
Yeah, you imagine being back in that time and seeing like how that actually went down.
No, I can't. Sorry.
I think that's something is you can't imagine what it was like to live 100 years ago.
Bro, I can't even imagine what it would have been like to live in 1776 when like the U.S. started. Like, it seems like it's a millennia ago.
Muskets and hatchets, and you could bathe once a week.
Exactly, that was 3 or 4 lifetimes ago. Man.
Yeah, at least you get to see the stars. That would be cool.
Yeah, true.
But I saw this awesome meme. It was like we traded gold, and it was a picture of streetlights, not like the LED lights. You know how they have the yellow tone. It's like. In search for gold, we lost diamonds, and it showed a picture of the night sky, like the Milky Way. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. We wanted the gold so bad, we forgot we had diamonds. Like the night sky is brighter and more beautiful than a cityscape at night.
But that's why you're on your camping tip right now.
Oh, I have to sometimes. No, right now we haven't been out for a few months, and I can feel it. Like my sleeping is going back. It's getting fucked up.
Yeah.
Because it's again the biology. If I go camping I have to force myself to get out of that bubble. I want to sit there on the computer and play games, trust me. If I don't go camping out every at least 2 months and go for 2-3 days, I start falling back to the computers and the lights affecting my natural sleeping patterns. Mm-hmm. And then I find we go camping and boom, I'm waking up at 6 a.m. again, and it lasts for a month. People don't think about this shit.
No. And
I'm much happier when I'm back in that natural cycle. And I'm guilty. I will put Netflix on at night and go to put the sleep timer on and shit. I know we shouldn't do that. I would love to have a big property close to the city, but an hour drive, but still have a big property where you can just sit on the porch and see the stars, just so you're not constantly getting fucked up by all the city lights.
No, I've always been a city boy.
Yeah.
It's so nice to get out into nature, man.
You don't realize it. The army was a huge thing because we're just sleeping in the desert for a week at a time, and then you look up, it's hey, there's stars. Holy shit. I lost the picture, but I had an old camera. It was a moonless night, which it has to be, not a sky, in the middle of the desert. I just took a picture, went to the computer, and I just zoomed in. I'm like, that's a galaxy in the photo. That's how clear it was. I was actually this guy's like, you think the NASA, they're real conspiracy. You think the NASA photos are showing you are real? There's all these billions of galaxies. I'm like, yes. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I told him that story. And you just see the look on his face. I took a picture with my camera on a clear night. I saw galaxies when I went on the computer. It's crazy, mind blowing. We've lost that. Have to get back to nature sometimes, I think.
Everyone should.
Yeah.
You need that reset. I mean, was it you who posted something just
probably?
Of course, right? Look who I'm talking to. But just the recommended amount of nature is at least 10 minutes per day in just a park, or 20 minutes or an hour a week in a forest, and then maybe a couple days out of the year just completely out in the sticks. That you need that to reset.
You do, I think, for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I posted that, but I believe that 100%. Based on anecdotal evidence, based on objective biological knowledge, it's if people are freaking out, just take them on camping trips. Take them out.
Bro, you need to disconnect from the rat race. Yeah. It's too real.
Yeah. Chill the fuck out. And it's 2 hours now. You probably have shit to do. I don't know.
Just go home and cook.
Yeah. Is there anything messages you want to get out? Mentorship lessons, anything that we didn't talk about?
You have to make the first step. If there's someone out there and you like what they have, make it known.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
People will walk with you, man. They will teach you. Like, you just have to make the first step. Let the world know that this is what you're going after, and people will help you get to where you need.
Yeah, that's reach out to people, right? I guess that's a simple way to
Absolutely,
say
man.
it.
Start with a coffee.
A lot of people will say no. You only need one person to say yes, I guess.
That's it, man. And honestly, most people out there are flattered, and if they can't help you, they'll redirect you to the person.
Sometimes, I'll say.
Not always.
Sometimes,
Not always. But like, you end up where you're supposed to be in this life, man.
Yeah.
So, ask for help, make it known, and get over your fake perfectionism.
Yeah, until you are perfect, which will never happen.
Exactly. And like, if you're thinking about taking Krav Maga and you're
In Metro
unsure,
Vancouver area.
in Metro Vancouver, come out, man.
I accidentally screwed up my I've been putting some Facebook. I screwed up the whatever, and I said it instead of go to the website, like go to the blog, go to Facebook Messenger me, and I always put it out to the whole world, and I got all these messages from India.
Oh, what?
Because they're just clicking on the thing, trying to go to the link, but I hit the wrong button.
Oh.
So it goes to Messenger. It's like, I want more information, and it's just I was so confused. And one time I got one in Hindi. I'm like, I don't fucking speak Hindi, man. And I couldn't figure out
John.
what the fuck is going on. It's because I said it wrong, and then they're like, well, do you have a school in India? I'm like, no. Like, no, I do not. I don't know. It depends. There's some. It's coming in India now, but not my organization. Some Krav is in India now. But
Can I ask, like, how big do you want this thing to be?
As big as I can be.
Exactly, but like, what's possible up here? Like, I'd love to hear that.
Well, that's actually a good question. My vision was to the realization of life was I realized there's a problem in North America. Is that the Israelis don't understand this continent very well. And that's a big part of the reason the Krav Maga has gotten a bad rap, especially with the rise of MMA and Jiu-Jitsu. And it's because they don't understand the culture. They just don't. You need to have some business and mentor. You can't just be like, here's the course, here's the techniques, go teach. Mm-hmm. And it's very much the culture there. That's very much the attitude. They don't want to manage. They don't want to manage global organizations. And the global organizations, the thing is, once you get so big, you often have a tendency just to go on autopilot. And if the people at the top aren't like just really getting it. So I realized there's a problem. And I actually said no to some instructor programs early on because I was like, I've been doing this for like 3 months. Like, what are you talking about? I kind of regret it because I wanted the piece of paper. I can't really do it now, but whatever. And I was like, okay, the issue is developing instructors. That's the problem. You need to develop instructors. So what I want, I have a very comprehensive instructor program, and I'm constantly changing it. That's why I always put it off, because it's so much work for me to fix it. Every year I want to change it more, but it's like 100, 200 hours of work, unpaid work.
Yeah.
So it's like, I keep putting it off. I need to update it again. I want to make some more instructors. But I basically realized the model of rushing instructors doesn't work. And I tried. It just doesn't work. Because if I want people to sort of approach it a certain way, I can't just teach them the techniques and say, here's the certificate. I need them to really be part of it.
Yep.
That's why Jiu-Jitsu did so well, is they took the time, the Gracie family. Even if they're dicks and they're elitists, which they kind of are, they took the time. They sent out family, it's a huge family. They sent out family members, the black belts, out in different cities. And they started school. And then they sent Hoist to the UFC, and that's where it really picked up. They got the notoriety. But now you go, wow, I want to learn this jiu-jitsu stuff. And now you have like a legit guy who's been doing it 15 years in your city. And it started with that. Okay, what's the closest city with the black belt that's actually been doing it? So at first when we started the program, and I had a business partner, it doesn't work, whatever. I was very much like, I want to make a real instructor program. I don't want to just punch it out. And, a lot of people, they don't want to put in the time. And so at first we're trying to do it a lot. And I realized, like at first I was like, I'm going to take people, as soon as they get the yellow belt, I'll take them and do the instructor program. And the instructor program right now, as I run the because I want to have the assistant instructor program and then a full instructor program, and then, your black belt. And it's just a lot of time on my part I don't have, and that's where I screwed up. And I realized it takes actually like 3 to 5 years to produce a good instructor. Even if it's just the assistant instructor course, the fastest I could really probably do someone, just the coursework and everything, is probably 3 to 6 months. But you also need your orange belt.
Yes.
At least, which takes 2 years at least if you're coming all the time. And so my original goal was I'm going to put together a program and outdo the Israelis. I'm going to be ambitious. I'm going to do all this. And then I realized, shit, it actually takes a long fucking time to develop people properly to the point where they can do what the Gracies did.
Yeah.
So ideally, I would love, and I believe any school, any business, the creator and the founder or the person driving the business should build a culture in which they can not be there and it can survive. But in order to do that with martial arts, you need high-level people who understand the whole curriculum. Well, I haven't even finished teaching anyone the whole curriculum yet because no one's there yet.
Yeah.
And then I change it every year. So ideally, I want to have 5 or 10 instructors that I can walk away. I'm not going to walk away, but I could walk away, and the school is going to be exactly producing the similar or same results. And then you build a program where it's like, hey, I think right now at least, if you want to become an instructor, you got to come live in Vancouver for a bit. Until such a point where I can go and teach you. But even then, I need other advanced students, as we were talking about. So that's how you build something up. And going to Israel is not an option for a lot of people. It's very expensive. It's not actually that cheap to live there. If you want to be really good, you got to immerse yourself in that. But again, with the way they're teaching it, sometimes doesn't really translate well over into North America because a lot of them don't talk about the theory, the concepts, the coaching. They don't focus on that.
Which is like my favorite part of our school.
Yeah, and so that's what I want to get, that balance develop where I'm teaching you realistic self-defense, objectively realistic self-defense. But I can also teach you a little bit of the other stuff as I'm developing my skills, but I also want to teach you the mentorship. And then the other thing the Israelis failed at is the business aspect. There's a lot of, like, to me, an association. If I'm part of I'm going to pay money to an association, and I'm just paying to have the name, I don't want to be involved in it.
No.
What am I getting out of it?
Nothing.
Well, I want to have, like, UTKM, it's just a lot of work for me on myself. But that's what I want to have, that website. I want it to be the resource for all the instructors. Can then post, hey, I'm filming I'm filming my class. Hey, if you want to see how I run my classes up there. Also, that way I can audit them. Like, hey, I really don't like that. You should do this. But then you make an online online source where all the instructors can chat and don't have to travel, because we have to deal with that travel aspect. It's a hard thing. But to build it up, you have to get enough high-level people, and then you have to start, hey, you want to open up a school in this city?
Yeah.
Right. That's how it does. And most people aren't going to fly from the other side of the world to come train at our school. I'm not big enough yet.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to be like, I want to go train in Israel. I don't have world championships. I don't have, I'm not, as a martial artist, I'm not, elite. I'll never be that unless I sacrifice everything and just do it, but I don't want to do that.
No.
I like teaching better. I like developing. So it'd be nice to have, I think a smaller goal would be to have schools in all the major cities in Canada.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be a smaller goal, more objectively realistic, because let's just say I've been told, or friends of mine have been told, that the big organizations don't really care about Canada because they know building a school here is a nightmare. It's hard. It takes a long time. Nobody wants to come and do it, and you're not going to make a lot of money out of it. So we have been told, hey, if you want to do it, go to America, go train, do the courses in America. We're like, come to Canada. No, we're not going to do it. We can't get enough people in the door. They're right. They can't. So it's kind of forgotten. So, I would love to have, I think for me to comfortably say you can go run a school yourself, blue belt at least, right? The other thing I was thinking about it, because the instructor program, as I'm developing it, is I want to make it so that if you get your black belt, there's 2 black belts. There's an instructor, professor qualification or whatever. I'll just say lead instructor. I don't like the professor. Or you're just a black belt. So you can either become a full instructor by getting your black belt and passing the instructor part of it.
Okay.
Or you can rush it and do the assistant instructor course, which I still need to refine again, and then the full instructor course, which I haven't finished yet, barely even started it yet. So there's like 2 tracks. Get your black belt and show me you can teach, which a black belt should objectively be able to. But I'll be like, okay, you can pass, you get your black belt, but you failed the instructor portion, so you're not getting certified as an instructor, or you can do the crash courses. So it's like different ways for people to become an instructor. Either you do the full 10, 15 years. It's all in my head. Half of it's not in paper yet.
Bunch of napkins.
Well, you can ask Petra. She did the assistant instructor course. I need to refine it a bit more. It's not quite where I want it yet. Again, it's a lot of work. I just, the thought of doing the work at this point, because one of the issues has been I put all this time and energy into building something and I wasn't getting anything back, which is fine if I have money in my bank.
Yeah.
But I burned a lot of bridges because I'm trying to build this thing it's fighting me back. And a lot of people told me to quit, but it really, what my wife said is, it's not that you have to quit. It's like, it's not worth it putting 7 days a week into this thing right now.
Yeah.
So right now, actually, COVID did a good job. It helped me. 3 days a week, and I'm a very happy place with it. I'd love to be doing 5 days a week, but then I have to have a place to rent. I have to have the students. Most martial arts schools are struggling, even if you're a popular style. Right, you need like 150, 200, 300 students in the city to actually really sustain yourself.
That's huge.
Yeah, which is a big number in the city. Like if you want to pay yourself a living salary, support a family, not have to work another job, that's the key thing, which I can't do anyway. You need like 150, 200, 300 students depending on how big your space is. I don't know any schools with that many students that aren't kids. Like, it's a tough thing. So I personally can't do that and work a full-time job.
No, man, it'd be horrible.
Some people can. I can't. Like, I will pass out and die.
Yeah, and our classes would suck, and you'd be so tired.
So I had to it's the ego thing. Like, I had to kind of chill, and it took a lot of suffering, mentally and friendships and all that, to realize, like, it'll come. It's going to take a lot longer than I thought it was. Mm-hmm. And without getting too detailed, but like, the vision I had was not the vision that other people had starting the school. And there was I think you missed all that. And the conflict between my founding partner and some of the other people, because a lot of students like their way better. And versus my way better. And actually, the school is becoming it's more unified now, because either people had to accept I'm doing things differently and be okay with that, or they left. And so as unfortunate it is to say, until everyone who was really kind of entrenched with that other person left, the school didn't develop. Because there's a lot of like ego and like, well, they taught me like this. I'm like, but they're wrong. Here's why. Well, I don't care. I'm not changing it. Well, I don't want to work with you then.
Yeah.
Like, because then I'm just butting the ego, and it's... This is the kind of shit when you start any business that you don't think about. Like, how many businesses do well where the founding partners are both still there?
I can't imagine many.
There's not many. Because there's
Facebook, baby.
No, you fucked everyone over, Mark Zuckerberg. There's the person with the vision, and sometimes there's the person who will do the work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's both. Usually, one of the people will end up taking over. Mm-hmm. And if both people want to be in charge, it usually doesn't work.
And then that one person gets a board of directors.
Yeah. I mean, people will definitely accuse me of being an asshole, but there were some issues that needed to. I was like, dude, you cannot do that. Whatever it is they're doing, like, dude, you cannot do that. No. Listen, you're gonna get us sued, or you're gonna cause drama, or that you cannot do that. You know, I always get blamed for being the bad guy with all that shit that happened. I'm like, this is like nonsense. This person is being a child. Mm-hmm. Like, I know they're not listening. It's like, and I know I'm young and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I had a temper too. And it's even to this day, like, if people are like, doing that, I'm gonna blow up. Like, all you guys think I'm calm. Nope.
Well, we're not gonna mess with your buttons, man.
No, I mean, like, you're a big guy. If you actually full raged on me, it's tough. Even for me, it's going to be tough to fight that, because it's a size thing. It's okay, I'm going to have to okay, I'm gonna have to hurt him.
Yeah.
There's no choice, and that's the reality. Is when you're a smaller guy, you have to realize that with bigger guys. I've been doing this 10 years. I can fight, dude. He's 250 pounds. If he goes full ham on me, there's a reason there's weight classes. So you have to make that decision. Am I gonna hurt this person or not? Mm-hmm. Like, so you have to think about. You all think that just because I'm the instructor, it's just not true. You get to a certain skill level. If you go 100%, I'm fucked.
I am really looking forward to
getting
my skill levels up.
Like, I hope so.
I'm in it, man. I'm
good.
That's why I listened to the blog post, dude. Like, I just like this warrior way, man.
Well, it's a warrior way. It's a surviving in the modern society.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just I love getting bits and pieces of it. Like, I love improving in this. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm just like...
I was going very long-winded as I always do.
No, man.
Well, I mean, that's my vision. Like, I want the realistic self-defense with quality instructors under an umbrella that supports people. And I want, like, one of the reasons I settled for urban tactics was I wanted to have a three-prong. I've talked about this before. I wanted to give you as the world goes increasingly urban and city, which has its drawbacks. We talked about biology. Self-defense is not just punching a guy in the throat.
Nope.
I want you to have the skills mentally. I want you to have the skills physically, and I want you to have the life skills. Ideally, what I would like is every school has the ability to help their students with mental health resources, help them students with business and financial help, and just like all of it. I can come to school, I can learn how to defend myself and get the mentorship. Like, hey man, my parents didn't teach me shit. Hey, we run basic financial literacy courses every week. I can't afford it. I don't have the resources to do that. That's what my vision would be, right?
That's amazing.
I'm one person with a lot of fucked up problems and not enough energy. You know, people are like, oh, just do the work. Like, dude, I've tried. I know for a fact. People are like, oh, it's all in your head. No, it's not. I learned this in the military. I can go about 2 weeks hard, and then my body is like off. It's like done. And I've done overtime for 2-3 weeks before. I'm done. I'll sleep for 4 days. Mm-hmm. I hit this wall where I'm like, I'm out. It is, unfortunately, that is just my limit. And then you get people like Kevin Hart. I love Kevin Hart. He has clearly that gene that lets them sleep like 4 hours a day and they're fine.
Yeah, those guys are freaks.
And if you look at a lot of very successful people, a lot of them probably have that gene.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, the collection of genes that allow them not to sleep and have energy throughout the day and be able to focus.
Yeah.
Because it's about the iterations. If I can stay mentally sharp 16 hours a day and focus, I'm going to be a lot more productive.
Absolutely.
I hit a point in every day where I'm like, I can't do work anymore because it's not productive.
No.
So I have no problem. I'm going to go play a game. I'm going to go do something else because I'm not being productive now. So for me, I have that 4-hour window. And if life gets in the way, like if I finally get my groove, let's say I start working at 10 or 1 in the afternoon or whatever, finally get in my groove, shit, I got to go buy groceries. I'm done.
Yep.
Right? A lot of people are like that. That's why I need help from people. And it's been a battle to get help. I think I'm at a point where I feel like it's finally going to happen. Like Petra's great. I can leave her there and she's fine. But I have like Ted telling me, John, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, finally. Like 8-9 years later. So I'm very optimistic.
Wait, Ted said that?
Like, I'm not going nowhere, John. Like, this is my thing. You didn't read his blog post?
I didn't.
You missed it. Yeah, so it's just like starting to have students say that. Like, I'm in, like, as long as I'm in the city, I'm not going nowhere. But I mean, like, I encourage you guys, go do jiu-jitsu, right? Go do boxing, go do kickboxing, learn from other people, be better, learn the skills, because you have to understand. I do not. Well, actually, it's a funny story. When I started this, I'm like, I don't want to have a cult. Like, for some reason, I got it in my head, like, I don't want to have a cult. I don't want to be one of those martial arts people where they all look at me like I'm a saint and they idolize me. I'm like, I do not want that. And I don't know. I got that in my head, and then I was just very much about... I probably threw myself under the bus a little bit. But then I hear, I heard some fucked up stories recently about some people in the martial arts community. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm like, motherfuckers, this is exactly why I say stop fucking talking about honor and respect, you motherfuckers, because the shit you're saying and what you're acting like in your personal lives is not the same. And like, that's why I like be real, be honest, tell people how it is, and if they don't like you, that's fine.
Keep it that way, man.
Yeah, and I hate that whole martial arts is about honor and respect. And I'm like, it is and it isn't. Can we stop pretending that? If it's life and death, fuck your honor. I'm going to fucking stab you in the face.
Yeah.
Honor is irrelevant. And you know what? You're going to do the same to me. Mm-hmm. And people will be like, oh, but Japan's like, you need to look into this more. Like, the samurai culture was not... They like, if their warlord was like, fuck you, like there's that documentary on Netflix. The Japanese one. It's like they fucked each other over all the time. There was still the honor, oh, you're disrespected, you have to kill yourself now. That still existed. But like, they would be like, no, fuck this guy. Are you going to agree with me or I'm going to take my army against you? We've been friends for 20 years, fuck you. Like, they did that.
Yep.
So there's a bit of delusion about the ideology of martial arts, and I'm like, no, it's not. I think it's just about be a better person. Honor and respect is relative to the culture. And if you put this shit on a pedestal and then you do stupid shit as a personal life. Like, Conor McGregor is a perfect example. People like, he's a horrible martial artist, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know who gets rich? The people who pay attention to. I think he should stop fighting because his heart's not in it anymore.
Nope.
But I have absolute respect for what he did and how he did it, because that's how you have to, it's not his fault that's how you make the money.
Yep.
Mayweather, trash talker, dickhead, made the money. So all these people coming out of the woodwork, it's like, I would never do that. That's disrespectful. What a shitbag. Like, and I'm like, you know, most MMA guys are broke as fuck.
Yeah.
He played the game. He understood it. So if you want to play this honor and respect bullshit, most of you are not going to be GSP. His advice to you is right. Mm-hmm. So let's be objective about this. You want to do it because you love it? Great. Keep doing it. You want to be the champ? Cool. Keep doing it. And if you're making champ money in UFC, they don't pay them enough, objectively, but you make $500,000 in one fight, go fucking get a good financial advisor.
Yep.
You got a couple fights. If you make a couple $1 million over a couple of years, is it great money in the sports world? No, considering getting your face smashed, and I agree, they're not getting paid enough. You make $5 million, you should never have to work again in your life if you get the right financial advisor. You want fuck it money, you got to act like Conor.
Yep.
You have to. And that's what I'm saying, the honor and respect thing, it's a bit silly. Like, yes, there are athletes we look up to that are humble and whatever, and they do well. I think actually the best athlete like that is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's, like, I'm not a football guy, but I think he put in the work. He sucked originally. He learned to be likable from a coaching perspective and a leader perspective. He's married to a fucking supermodel.
Isn't she she's not a billionaire, but she's
wealthy, Gisele Bündchen.
She's incredibly wealthy.
Yeah, well, because she executed well too.
Yeah,
right? And there's very rare examples of humble athletes who are actually really wealthy. Very rare. And you can talk all you want. Humans are humans. What makes money is what makes money.
Yep.
Then you have LeBron James. Fucking sellout.
Easy on LeBron there, John.
Fucking sellout. His stance on China.
Oh, yeah. Hong Kong.
You motherfucker. Dude, you already have like $1 billion. What the fuck is wrong with you? You don't need the money. Even if they boycott you, you're still LeBron James. You're in a position to say fuck you to China. I'll never be able to go to China because of this podcast. And he sold out. To me, that's more pathetic. Obviously, he's probably the best basketball player ever. But, dude, are you kidding me? Like, you have the money, and you won't tell the NBA. You are in a position to tell the NBA, grow some fucking balls. You guys have enough money. No one owns you. And you won't tell China, go fuck yourself, just because you all want the money that's in China? What is wrong with you?
They all do. There's a rookie called James Wiseman who taught himself Mandarin to prepare for this stuff.
Fucking what's his face? That actor, the Fast and he's not. I'd hardly call him an actor. John Cena.
Yes, he speaks fluent
Mandarin, which I was like, what? But he said Taiwan's a country, and then he's apologizing in Mandarin. I'm like, you motherfucker! Like, you already got the money. You fuck. Take the money and say, you know what, fuck you. I'm done. I don't need any more money.
That's not how they work,
No,
man.
of course not, because these people don't actually care
No.
like they say they care. That's why I'm saying, like, if honor, respect, and people talk, I'm like, I watch what people are doing. You just sold out the Uyghur Muslims who were getting massacred and genocide. You just sold out your moral stance because, like, obviously black people haven't been treated well in America, but you should take the same moral stance to that as you do to that. Oh, no, I don't want to piss off China. If we don't start saying no to China, we're going to war in the next 20, 30 years because that'll be the only option left. To me, if you're in those positions, you gotta use your voice reasonably. I know people don't like it because, like, I just want to watch the sport. Like the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. But he's misguided. He's not... What are you solving? Like, you're not solving anything. But guess what? If all of a sudden big corporations start telling China no, their economy's fucked.
I love that they're using their stance to make, like, a political statement.
It's not productive, though.
Man, but who else is going to do it?
There are people doing it. You just don't hear about it.
Yeah, because they don't have the audience. They have the audience.
Yeah, but Colin Kaepernick's doing it for himself.
Colin Kaepernick did it for black people.
He says that. I don't see it.
He didn't.
I don't see it.
He lost his dream job, man. He lost his career.
Yeah, we can discuss this. Black Lives Matter movement. Tell me, what do you think? We can go here.
Black Lives Matter, I was with it, 100%.
In what way?
That they shouldn't be murdered by police.
Correct, but that's not what's going on.
Explain.
What? It's an image problem, right? So defund the police has resulted in one thing and one thing only: more violence in black communities. So how did that movement help the black community?
Well, wasn't it? They're separate. It wasn't BLM saying that we have to defund the police. It was just BLM was its own separate thing.
But it's about misguided principles. I want to make change. I have a voice. I agree. I just said that about Connor. I just said that about that. I agree. But what you say and how you say it, and what are you actually doing? Are you just talking because you want the attention, or are you actually doing something? Kevin Hart is an amazing example of someone who's helping the black community. I don't know if you've ever listened to him on Joe Rogan. He was like, man, we need to teach financial literacy. Man, stop with the fucking wine and stop blaming the white guy. Go. Like, I can't. Kevin Hart. Like, I'm like, man, yes, that's helping the black community. Black Lives Matter is an important thing in the sense that we don't want people to be killed. But that's the misconception is, statistically, more white people get killed every year by cops than black people. You just don't hear about it. It's like 2 or 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. So then they'll say, okay, so the crime is there's disproportionately amount of people in jail that are black. That's true.
Yep.
Now this part is definitely a little bit racist. It's to do with the drug war. I don't know if you've seen it. Do you have me on Facebook? I don't even know.
I'm not sure if you're the individual or the school.
Yeah, we'll add you afterwards. But I was posting, Tim Ferriss had this guy on. They were talking about the drug war, the war on drugs, which I'm against. And you find out why. The war on drugs is what caused the issues for the black community. Specifically that. Because if you penalize... So marijuana is well known. Black people have been using it for a long time. Even in the 1920s, reefer madness and shit like that. And they used the racism. It was actually to do with hemp. Joe Rogan talked about this for all the time for like 3 years. It's to do with hemp. As the guy who owned Randall William Hearst owned a bunch of paper mills. And Scientific America was talking about hemp is the new thing. Because you can do everything with hemp. Paper, clothes, everything. And Randolph, I think it's Randolph William Hearst, who owned paper mills, was like, we can't have that. I can't have that at all. And so he used racism against black people by saying, reefer madness is bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And they got the Karens of the time to want to make marijuana illegal. And then they banned hemp on the side. So that's what started it. So the black community had been using hemp or weed for a long time, probably related to slavery or whatever. But now you're criminalizing that. Well, the black community has been using it for a long time, so you criminalize that. And then you start the war on drugs with Nixon, which was literally because he didn't like black people or hippies because they wouldn't vote for him. And it's on record, public record. They're like, this had nothing to do with health crisis. They sold it as a health crisis, which should put some alarm bells about COVID. That they sold the war on drugs as a health crisis. And the health crisis regarding drugs got worse because the pharmaceutical companies got it. So the reason why black people are disproportionately in prison is because of the penalties for, smoking a joint. And then it creates a revolving door thing. Because before that, black communities were thriving. They were becoming lawyers like Martin Luther King Jr. They were doing really well. And it created a revolving door. Well, how do we get the black community to be better? It's the same way you get any community to get better. That's exactly what we were talking about for like 2 hours. Mentorship and leadership and strong family and strong leadership. The black community doesn't have that. When you have Black Lives Matter, which is an openly Marxist, as in communist organization, it was founded by communists or Marxists. I don't know exactly where they got the ideology. It's on their website. Maybe they've taken it down now because people have caught on. And they're saying, our goal is to destroy the family unit. And you're like, wait, hold on a second. A strong family home, even, two gay people, doesn't matter. A strong family home, mixed race, irrelevant. A good mother figure, good father figure, or if you want to deal with the gender bullshit, like 2 figures to triangulate what's right and wrong. Mm-hmm. We'll develop kids. We need mentors. We need stable environment. Well, the black community is not getting that. Black Lives Matter wants to destroy that even further. You're actually getting a lot of black families being like, are you kidding? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, black families that are together. The fathers haven't walked out. Talking out against critical race theory and being, what the fuck are you telling that my child shouldn't have parents at home? Black Lives Matter is saying that. It's manipulation because people don't know what's actually going on. We want black people to get killed. Great. Decriminalize marijuana. Stop criminalizing petty crime like they keep doing in the States. They don't really do that. Canada's laid off a lot. That's why we don't have that problem. In Canada, though, it's the natives, but for the same reason, because they keep going after the natives. It's complicated, though. But never look at it as a black and white thing. It's like, okay, well, first of all, how did we get here? So you can find the source problem. Well, the source problem for the blacks in America is that you kept penalizing and criminalizing petty crime, which were disproportionately a black community were involved in it. And then it creates a revolving door. You break up the family unit, and they don't have good mentors. So Black Lives Matter is running around saying, defund the police. George Floyd, which, by the way, I don't think that was murder. Should he never be a cop again? He should never be a cop again. Derek Chauvin. That's not murder. That is a failure of the system to ensure proper training. Because look at the rookies. They just stood there. They're going to jail too, and it's like, it's lack of training, man. You hear anyone who knows what they're doing, it's lack of training. Now, Derek Chauvin should not have been a cop a long time ago. He's got a terrible record. So that's the system. That is true. The system protects bad apples. But guess what? So does governments. So does bureaucracies. Have you ever been to a government office where clearly that person shouldn't work there, but the union protects them? You can't fire shitheads. Right? So it's ironic that these systems are all intertwined. Like, left-wing people support the unions, but the unions protect the shitheads. The police union protected Derek Chauvin. And it's also in-group, out-group. So then Black Lives Matter says, oh, George Floyd, who was not a good person. Regardless of how you spin it, he was not a good person. And he was high out of his fucking mind at the time. And people need to accept that is reality. It's just a bad situation gone bad. So now we go, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Okay, yes, do we want black people to stop getting killed like that? Sure. So should white people stop being killed like that. And what the result of that whole movement is black communities got burnt down. Not white communities. Black communities got burnt down. They were interviewing protesters saying, hey, are you doing this for Black Lives Matter? And of course, it could be targeted interviews. No, man, I just want a free TV. I just want to loot. They're interviewing people. When you have a percentage of people saying that, it means the movement isn't what you think it is. The Martin Luther King Jr.'s movement was different. It was nonviolent.
Mm-hmm.
And look what it got. You run around smashing stuff, statistically, burning shit down, you're not helping anybody. It's not the white suburbs getting burnt down. It's the black communities getting burnt down. We're both a bit young, but the Rodney King riots in L.A., that was bad. The community that didn't get wrecked was the Korean community in L.A. It's a bad area too. Why? Because the Korean community said, not in our community. They got with guns on the roof. They protected the community. The whole black community and the Latino communities around got burned down. Koreans did well. No, we're not burning down our community. Get the fuck out of here. Right? You want better. You don't want worse. So I think, again, I'm not an expert. The solution for black community in America is a couple things. Decriminalizing marijuana is the first place. And petty drug use is the first place. The DEA needs to go fuck itself. I think they need to get rid of a lot of these alphabet agencies and just pare it down to the CIA and FBI. And just have less.
Yeah.
You can do the same work. You just have more people under the same umbrella. Then we need to stop this nonsense about destroying the family unit. You need to make education interesting for the black community. I understand they don't understand the culture. Like, one of the things against the IQ test is I don't understand the questions. They're too like, the example I remember is, if something regatta, like a boat regatta, well, black kid doesn't know what the fuck that is. So they just said the test is racist. Instead of coming up with a different version of the test using words the kid might understand. Because you get the same results if you just change the words. You can do an IQ test in any language. It's not about the language, it's about the mental processing. No, we're demonizing, no IQ test. And then what they're doing is, teachers aren't even trying anymore. And if I think the Canadian school system bad, I can't imagine the American school system. If you're in black America,
it's dire.
The teachers don't give a fuck. A teacher got fired in the States because she said, I'm so ashamed and I don't know what to do that the failing people in my class are all black. She got fired because they said she's racist. It's, like we said, when you're fighting the parents, well, where are their parents? They're not there. So the teachers who are underfunded, undertrained, and a lot of them aren't very good, are there trying to teach these kids who aren't interested. And they're just saying, it's because the system is racist. I actually heard a wonderful story today. I forgot who it was. I think it was Tim Scott is like one of the only like black senators, or one of the first in America or something. And it was talking the story of his grandfather. He grew up in a home where, it's common for the grandparents to take care of the kids.
Yeah, very common.
And the story goes like this. He grew up with his grandfather reading the paper every day. Newspaper. And he said, as an adult, I realized he couldn't read. So why is he doing that? Why do you think his grandfather is sitting there with the newspaper every morning? Grandfather's not reading anything. He can't read.
Just trying to teach the kid that it's important.
Exactly. That's what, now that senator, that's how you fix it. Mentorship, strong upbringing. Again, like the whole, do we need a male family? No, you don't actually. You just need two strong role models. One, single family homes have issues because the kids only have one person to listen to. Like, it's a mathematical thing, I think. You need like alternate strong stances, but you need a team. Parents have to be a team, right? So that the kid can develop, and they need boundaries. Well, the black kids are not getting boundaries. Native kids here aren't getting boundaries. No one wants to tell them anything because they'll just get called racist. The thing they need the most is the thing. I have a Native friend, and I sat down and talked to him. And I said to him, like, holy shit, like, I didn't know you're that smart and that educated. I didn't, not because he's Native, he never said anything. And he's just like, well, like, I'm around fighters and the community, and like, they don't like that. I feel like this guy held himself back because he just wanted to fit in. And you hear the same story in the black community. The smart kids who want to get out are ostracized. You're an Uncle Tom, which, like, you're a sellout. It's like, how does that help anybody? This kid's trying to better himself to have a better life. And the rest of you who don't want to do that are telling him, fuck you. There was, You know who Candace Owens is?
She an Olympian?
No. She is the black woman who works with Ben Shapiro. Do you know who Ben Shapiro is? The angry conservative Jew liberals hate to. Anyway, so Candace Owens, her story is, and actually I should just frame, when you listen to her when she's a young girl, she said some dumb shit. Like when she started with 19 with the YouTube channel, and now she's running like a talk show with Ben Shapiro. She said some dumb shit. If you go back, and it's dumb shit. Because no one told her. Yeah. She just believed shit. And as she's growing and learning, she's like, oh, man, I said some dumb shit, but now I know, like, that was pretty stupid. But people will get the soundbite from back then and be like, fuck you.
Well, that's why people are afraid to speak.
Yeah, but she never specified. She was talking to a black politician, a very successful black. She never said who it was. I am going to speculate. It's a Texas person. I'm just guessing. Who knows? And this person said, listen, whoever the politician is, he's been 20 years, 10, 15 years. I got into this because I wanted to help the black community. And apparently he told her at a certain point, you're going to give up on the black community.
Ooh. Because
you were trying to like, hey guys, get educated. Like Kevin Hart, learn financial literacy. And it goes back to the addiction thing. You can't help people who don't want to be helped. Mm-hmm. So if an entire community is just blaming whitey, like slavery, yeah, okay, not great. But if they're just blaming whitey and not fixing the things, it's just going to get worse. How is that going to... That's why the Black Lives Movement, in theory, it's good. Just like in theory we needed to lock down. Where's the evidence? Show me evidence that lockdowns work. Oh, wait, more people died of suicide? We don't need to talk about that. What are you talking about? It's like the ideas are good. Like I've been thinking about, you know, politics. I want to try to understand the other side, as I said earlier. Their ideas are good. Their executions are bad. They start with a good idea, and then they don't know how to make it happen. Because if, like a doctor, if you're only treating the symptoms, not the cause, a person's going to stay sick for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Like my wife, so many medical problems. She fixed her diet, got her mental health under control, make sure she gets massage to deal with the tension because she's got some messed up back. So much happier. She found what the causes were. Mm-hmm. Our medical system is, most doctors are just treating the symptoms, not the cause. Most of these ideologies are addressing the symptoms, not the cause. They're not fixing the cause. The cause is lack of education, lack of strong mentorship, and a willingness to be better. It's hard to learn. Like imagine being a caveman trying to learn physics. It's a bad analogy. That's a soundbite that's going to be taken out of context. But it's like if no one in your whole life, black, white, Asian, Latino, has taught you how to learn, and you're presented with the opportunity to learn, and you're like, this is hard, math is hard. Okay, we'll make the math easier for you because it's racist. How is that kid going to get better? How is society going to be better? Because that's what they're saying, math is racist now. In Ontario, they're saying math is racist now.
That's just like an empty sentence to me.
Exactly. What the fuck is math racist? Is math definitively true all the time? No, because you can have actually different solutions for the same problem. They're all true as long as it gets the result consistently. But that kid isn't learning because he doesn't want to and nobody taught him. It's hard. The concepts are hard for him. So guess what? The teachers need to do better. They don't want to. The school system needs to do better. Instead of addressing, yes, these kids are coming from a disadvantaged place. Guess what? It's going to be hard for those kids. It's going to be just as hard for the teacher. You got to want to do it. Now, I understand teaching kids who just don't understand, or adults who don't understand, like, it's hard for me because I like to teach at a certain level. I understand where they need to come from. I'm one person. You need teams of people. Hey, you have the right temperament to teach people who have a harder life. Hey, you have a right temperament to teach those people. And that's a system. It's like everyone learns at a different pace. Everyone learns at a different level. Some people can just boom. You know who Jordan Peterson is? Oh, man, we got to get you out there. Jordan Peterson's a Canadian psychologist, psychiatrist. He's written some books. A lot of people hate him because they're calling him a Nazi. And it's like, have you ever listened to this guy? Have you ever listened to what he's saying? Read his first book. Oh, not his first book. I haven't read it yet. 12 Rules for Life. It's a good book. Second one is not as good because he had some issues when he wrote it. So I think he wasn't as there. But he did an interview with this woman called Yeonmi Park. Well, Yeonmi Park, I'm probably butchering her name. Guess where she grew up?
I don't know, Korea.
Where?
South Korea.
North Korea.
Oh.
The most depressed place on the planet, period. Like, full stop. And I'll send you the link. And if you don't cry during that interview, you're not a human. It's hard to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
She got out of North Korea. The story is quite dark. I'll send you the link later, and you'll see. And she got to South Korea, and then they looked down on North Koreans in South Korea. Eventually, after this whole long ordeal, she got to South Korea, and they assessed her. They said, "You're like the elementary school, you're like a grade 5 cognitive level." Because it's North Korea, they don't teach them shit.
Mm-hmm. They teach you that your dictator's a god.
She's obviously very smart. Obviously she's smart. She went from grade 5 to finishing a GED in a year. So, first of all, to do that, you do have to have a high level of intelligence to do that. She just didn't know it. She got her GED. She wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You have to want to learn. If it's hard for you to learn, whatever the reason, guess what? More duration.
Yep.
Different mentor. Better teacher. We have the internet now. So what people are doing in the black community, the native community, they're saying, I don't understand this. I don't want to learn it. Hey man, how are you going to fix any of the problems? You got to understand in order to fix what's the cause. So you need to learn more information. So there's a lot of predators in leadership positions that aren't helping because they just want to get reelected. If I fix the problem, they're not going to reelect me. You find out several of the leaders of the Black Lives Movement embezzled all the money. That was obvious from the start that was going to happen. Don't just send money to these causes. Be like, where's the money going? What's the money, what is it doing? How are you going to manage it? And one of the leaders bought 6 houses with the money. How I think Black Lives Matter in a year got $70 million or $20 million. What happened with the money? It went to a few people who are now using it for political reasons. So in theory, Black Lives Matter is a good thing. What has it done? Well, it brought the narrative we brought it out to the surface. Yeah, but it also burnt down some cities. Well, we gotta wreck it all. Well, now you got a country that's more divided than ever. I'm not sure what's going to come first, the war with China or a civil war in the States. I'm not sure. I think
they stormed the Capitol, John.
Hardly.
No, they still did it.
I know
still
that.
think the civil war is coming.
That was to me. I think, where was the security?
They were getting chased around the building.
Where was the security?
Where were the police?
Where were they?
Letting people through barriers.
Why? That question needs to be answered.
Politicians probably told them to do it. Told them it was coming.
Why the fuck would you do that? There's something very wrong with that. You had a bunch of unarmed fucking people. Yeah, it was a lot of people. And you know how I talk about crowds. It's a lot of people. Dude, you have a fucking contentious goddamn election with a lot of pissed off people on both sides. Where the fuck was any of the security? I don't know whether it was Trump or the Republicans. I don't know. Somebody said no security.
Yeah, 100%.
Somebody.
Blatantly obvious.
It's a false flag event.
Yeah.
Those people should not have gotten inside. No way.
Nope.
It's very weird. I don't really care who pulled the strings. That was not a fucking coup attempt. That was a bunch of crazy people. Not all crazy people. There's a lot of very angry people there. This is comes down. The thing I'm saying, it's critical thinking. Oh, I believe this thing. I'm actually guilty of it too. What I started doing is I don't share stuff until I've looked into it now. I don't try to jump on ideas until I've looked into it. Because if I click that share button, I'm like, fuck, it's bullshit. I've done it once or twice in the last year. Like, ah, damn it, I'll leave it. I don't care. Are you sure what you believe to be true is true? And are you believing it just because you're being told it's true? But is it true? And, you know, the George Floyd thing, like, a lot of people are going to hate me for this. But I'm sorry, I don't think it's murder. A horrible situation. But I talked to other use of force actors, like, yeah, it's murder. And then I start asking questions, and I don't think they're saying it's murder because they actually believe it. I think they're saying that because that's what society thinks it is, and they're being human, and they're just doing it. Because objectively, I've done that to people, like that position. They didn't die. A lot went wrong with that situation. A lot. But demonizing the technique in that situation, it's like, well, a lot went wrong. He made a lot of bad decisions. You probably should have sat him up. Where's the ambulance? What the fuck were the rookies doing? There was a violent crowd there, though. Derek Chauvin's an asshole anyway. Lots of problems. But the narrative behind what's going on is not true. So, like, do you know who Rosa Parks is?
Yes.
Yeah, right? She wasn't the first person to do that.
Nope. It
was some pregnant chick. They didn't want to do that. Oh, a pregnant black girl sat in the front of the bus, said, I'm pregnant. An unwed pregnant black girl is not a good story. An old grandmother who everybody likes is a great story. Humans are storytellers. Mm-hmm. We love, Jews are good at this, the storytelling. Everyone's being told stories. And that's what we latch onto. That's why Conor McGregor made $100 million. A couple $100 million. It's his story. That humble guy is an amazing athlete, but doesn't have a good story. Nobody cares about. GSP has a great story too, but he's also good, right? Tom Brady has a great story. The people who make money have great stories. Movements come from what stories we can convince people to get behind. But that's not truth. That's a story. And it's not my truth versus your truth. There is a truth. We just don't know what it is yet. But the story is not the truth. Right? And mainstream media has lost all credibility because they're telling outlandish stories that are easy to prove wrong. And they're like, why aren't you watching us anymore? Because you're just telling bullshit stories now. It's not the news. Hey, this is what happened. This is what we know. That's the news. Me telling a story is not the news. But humans like stories, right? Teaching, you use stories to educate, because sometimes the principles are like lost on people. So you use a story or an example to make them understand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But that's what humans like. It's the emotional attachment to the story. But the story is just that. How much of that story is true? You know, broken telephone?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Purple monkey dishwasher?
Yeah, purple monkey dishwasher. By the time it gets to the 10th person, the thing is so distorted, no one knows what's true anymore. And that's actually disinformation. There's a book called The Volunteer I read a long time ago. He was talking about spycraft. It's like, dude, half a modern spycraft or spycraft in general, I just need 10% bullshit, and then no one knows what's true anymore.
Whoa.
Because a lot of the true things that the governments actually do are so unbelievable in the time. Like JFK assassination. Dude, he was killed probably by the FBI, CIA, the mob was probably involved. There was definitely government involved. No, it was this. Put together a really good story that when people dig into doesn't make sense. Guess what? Your story is bullshit. No, that's conspiracy theory, but your story doesn't make sense. COVID narrative, story doesn't make sense. And in real time, we saw the story not making sense, but people latch on to the story that they like. But that's not the truth. It's a science. No, it's not. Politics. Who stands to gain? Follow the rich white man from Rush Hour 2. Like, it's a great saying. Who stands, it's not white anymore, but who stands to gain from this story being true? And who stands to lose from this story being true? Neither is the truth. Objectively, there is a truth, but with two people, you have two opinions. Their worldview, their reality is different. There is a truth, but what is the truth? Humans are still trying to figure that out. It's very complicated. So, that's a long explanation to that. Guys, I'll put in the thing. The last hour is me talking about stuff. Nate's just listening.
Nodding profusely.
But that's my thing, is I want to educate people and make them think. I'm not always right. I fuck things up all the time. Or I misunderstand. It's just how our memory works. but learn, grow, develop, be better. I think that's what martial arts is about. It's not about honor, it's not about respect, it's be better. It's what sports should be about, be better. So we're not killing each other. That's what sports originally was, right? Do you have anything to add on that, or I don't know?
No, man. I think it was a good talk, though.
Yeah, we're at 3 hours. I should probably go back. Do you want people to find you on social media? Or do you care?
Nah, man, meet me at the school.
Yeah, come to UTKM. I'll put it in the intro. Well, thanks for coming on. Like I was like, you'll be interesting.
I hope so.
Yeah, so I'm glad you like the school, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks very much for having me.
We'll hear from you for a lot more.
I should write something for you.
Send me stuff.
100%.
We'll talk.
You're listening to The Warriors Day. Brought to you by Urban Tactics Krav Maga. Turning lambs into lions.